Douluo, starting from the spirit of time worm, this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1: The Worm of Time. An out-of-control mud truck rushed to the side of the road, and the tires made a harsh friction sound with the ground. The young man who was playing with his mobile phone took his eyes away from the screen and looked up in the direction of the sound. Looking at the huge monster rushing towards him, he opened his mouth slightly, and his eyes were full of fear. Bang! The world fell into darkness. Amon rubbed his head, looking a little confused. Soon, this confusion turned into a sudden realization. He traveled through time twice in a row, but I was obviously the one driving. Why was it me? The first time he traveled through time and became an incarnation of the twin gods Amon and became a part of Amon. It was not a simple replacement, but a fusion point with the memory and personality of the traveler as the main guide. He merged the fate of the incarnation of Amon. He forgot his past name and only knew that he was Amon. The traveler Amon did not stay in the mysterious world for long, just 2 seconds, because the time and place he traveled through were not very friendly. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw a vague figure. This figure was wearing a layered but simple black dress, dotted with countless stars. He was as huge as a mountain, with a pair of arms covered with dark black short hair between his ribs and waist, but he had a beautiful and gentle face covered with a thin black veil. He was majestic, beautiful, mysterious, and gave people a fear that went deep into the soul. The goddess of night. As soon as he crossed over, he was in the center of the battlefield, where the goddess of night and the twin gods Amon fought in the Honachis mountains. Alongside passed by, and then nothing happened. The memory of the mysterious world ended here. The traverser Amon realized what had happened. He was deliberately sent to the goddess attack by the body of the mysterious Amon. No wonder Amon's body made such a choice. The consciousness revived in someone else's body. This was the method of the old days. The mysterious Amon mistakenly thought he was the consciousness of the Yan who had revived, and he had no extra energy to verify it in the battle of gods. That was the critical moment when he and Clean competed for the position of Lord of the Mysteries. So he was sent to the most dangerous and chaotic place on the battlefield, using the simplest and crudest method to temporarily eliminate this potential danger. He didn't even dare to steal the idea of this abnormal clone and make more attempts. It is estimated that for a moment, he was also scared. The time traveler Amon pinched his right eye socket and sorted out the memories in his mind. The memory of the time traveler is the main body, and Amon's memory is not much, only about the use of extraordinary power. In addition, there are fragmentary memory fragments of the body he now occupies: Soul Master, Soul Beast, Spirit Hall, Chiandao Empire. This is the world of Douluo continent. This body is currently 12 years old and is a 13th level Soul Master. He lives in Shenzhen village near Shuangai city in the northern province of Chiandao Empire. The spirit was originally a fat and plump green worm. After Amon's soul settled in, the spirit changed and became a translucent worm with 12 rings and star-like colors. This is a time worm with the characteristics of the star worm. The original owner was a lucky guy. Although he was only level 13 and was just a civilian soul master, he had a 100-year soul ring and an external soul bone. The soul ring came from a 200-year-old thief monkey. The soul skill was to hide the external performance of his own soul ring, so that there would be no light and shadow effects when it was activated, and there would be no soul power fluctuations after the martial soul mutated. The soul skill also changed a little, similar to the ability brought by the Bug Path Sequence 9 Thief. The changed soul skill brought Amon a permanent passive effect and an active effect. Permanent passive effect: slightly improve agility, control of one's own body, and soul power control, and then increase synchronously with the increase of soul power level. When actively activated, it can steal the expressiveness of one's own martial soul, soul ring, and soul skill, making the martial soul and soul ring imperceptible, and the soul skill will only be noticed by others after leaving the body. The expressiveness is stored in the soul ring and returned to oneself at the right time, which can create a huge effect and intimidate the opponent. Heh, it's quite fitting. Amon chuckled. Douluo's spirit ring system corresponds exactly to the 9 sequences of the mysterious potion. Amon thinks that the abilities of each stage of the potion system can be used as a reference for obtaining spirit rings in the future. This body has very few memories left, mostly information about the village. Amon can learn little about the outside world through these memory fragments, but the spirit hall still exists, which means that the timeline is still in the first part of Douluo continent. He feels that he needs to confirm what time point it is now. This is very important and is related to his future position. The creaking sound of the door opening interrupted Amon's thinking. He was a little confused. Who would come to visit the original owner at this time? It's just dawn now. Just as he was about to go downstairs to take a look, he stopped again. No. Breaking into someone else's house without knocking on the door or the owner's consent is obviously not a friendly gesture. Amon felt the weakness coming from his body and his face became ugly. The original owner died last night. He drank water that had been left for a day before he died and lost his life in cramps in his abdomen. And the next day after his death, someone broke into the house without knocking early in the morning. All signs indicate that the original owner's death was not an accident. Realizing this, Amon dared not move anymore and even breathed more lightly, fearing to disturb the uninvited guests below. Perhaps it was the sequel of death and resurrection. His current state was very bad. His soul power was only 1/10 of it, and his body was so weak that he couldn't even clench his fists, relying on the control of his body brought by the first soul ring. He walked to the stairs without making any sound, leaned down, and peeked at the first floor. Through the gap in the stairs I saw a hunchbacked old man holding a long-handled fork, tiptoeing into the house. He was wearing a brown linen shirt, and his blue pants didn't fit well, only covering half of his calf. There was a hole in the tip of his right shoe, revealing 2 toes. He had sparse hair, brown spots on his face, loose skin piled up grooves on his face, and a tumor on his chin, which looked hideous in the dim light. Amon recognized at a glance that this was the street urchin that everyone in the village hated. Old Quinn pointed his said that he was born with half-level soul power, which can be regarded as a little soul master talent. But his family did not support his cultivation due to financial conditions, so Quinn was only a 6th level soul master at his age. The original owner had little interaction with old Quinn. The most recent communication was that old Quinn wanted to borrow money from him, but was rejected. Lack of money, poor character, and breaking into the house at such a delicate time. Amon felt that the matter was obvious. There was only one truth. The murderer who caused the original owner's death was old Quinn. The original owner had more than a dozen gold coins, some of which were the inheritance left by his father, and some of which he earned himself. For most villagers in Shenzhen village, more than a dozen gold coins are a large sum of money, and few families can save this amount. Amon guessed that it was probably because old Quinn got greedy and came to his house to steal while the original owner was away, but he didn't find anything. He guessed that he carried the coins with him, so he poisoned the water. After waiting for a night, he came to collect his spoils early the next morning. Old Quinn's soul power was not high, and he was old and weak. His overall strength was equivalent to that of an ordinary middle-aged man without soul power. If Amon was in good condition, he would certainly not be afraid. Even if his martial soul was not the type that was good at frontal combat, even if he was only level 13, the advantage of a soul master over an ordinary person was almost overwhelming. Unfortunately, there was no if. The current old Quinn was indeed a big threat to Amon. Chapter 2 Frostleaf City. Old Quinn's cloudy eyes carefully scanned every corner of the first floor. He saw no one and nobody, so he turned his eyes to the second floor. Amon, Amon, he called softly, pretending to be looking for someone. There was no response, only his hoarse voice echoed in the room, like an evil ghost from the underworld urging him to die. Old Quinn walked up the stairs slowly, and just when he was halfway up, a chair flew down from above. His face changed, and he threw it away with his left hand. Amon jumped up, holding a stick in his hand, which was the only weapon he could find temporarily. Old Quinn mobilized his soul power and stabbed the fork upward fiercely. Amon swung the stick and hit the tip of the fork, blocking it. With the power of jumping from above, he pounced on old Quinn. The two slid down the stairs together. Old Quinn was below, bearing most of the impact of landing, and Amon rolled along with the momentum and took the fork from the other party at the same time. "Ah, my leg." Old Quinn screamed and wailed while holding his left leg. "What are you doing? I just came to borrow money from you." I just came to borrow money from you. Really? Amon calmed down his panting caused by the intense exercise. The movements just now had consumed most of his remaining physical strength. He picked up the kettle on the table beside him, poured a glass of water, and placed it on the ground a few steps away from old Quinn. Then, I'm sorry, please drink a glass of water to calm your nerves. Old Quinn looked at Amon in fear and saw that he had raised his fork, looking like he would die if he didn't drink it, and began to cry and beg for mercy. Don't kill me. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please. Seeing that he was unwilling to drink water, Amon confirmed his guess and stabbed him in the neck. Old Quinn's emotions stabilized. Amon walked to the water tank, scooped water with a ladle to wash off the blood splashed on his body, and washed his hands again and again. The faint stench from the fork made him realize that it was a dung fork that had just been used. Fortunately, he was not stabbed, otherwise, even if it was just a small cut, it would leave a shadow in his heart. Amon changed into a clean set of clothes, found a dagger for cutting meat from the cupboard, and put it on his waist. He was ready to leave for Frostleaf City. First, he could get better information in the city and have more room for development. Second, if he killed old Quinn, he would definitely have a lot of trouble staying in Shenzhen village. He was not interested in wasting time arguing with the family of the old gangster. At the entrance of the village, Amon met a young man carrying a bamboo basket on his back. He was wearing a coat made of tanned deerskin. Demeter, the son of a hunter in the village, was enthusiastic and cheerful. Such information automatically popped up in his mind. Demeter also saw Amon. He waved and said with a smile, "Hey, Amon, are you going to the city?" "Ah, you going too?" Amon looked at him with some surprise. Although Shenzhen village is not far from Frostleaf City, the villagers rarely go to the city unless necessary. "Well, yes. My father killed a wild boar and asked me to sell it. In addition, the salt and matches at home are almost used up, so I have to buy some back." Demeter pointed his thumb at the bamboo basket behind him, which contained half a slaughtered wild boar. "Then, let's go together. It's just right that you, the Soul Master, are with us, so it's safer on the road." He smiled a little honestly and touched the hatchet on his waist unconsciously. There is an empty wilderness between Frostleaf City and Shenzhen village. Occasionally, ordinary wild animals such as wolves and wild boars appear on the road, which is a little dangerous. Amon is not in good condition now, so he is naturally willing to go with others. He raised his hand and took out a pair of crystal-like monocles from the void and put them on his right eye. This is the ability of his external soul bone, which can materialize soul power and turn invisible soul power into real matter. The skill itself does not consume any energy, but it only gives soul power a special property. This soul bone is very special. It is not attached to the body, but to the martial soul. Although it does not directly bring powerful lethality, Amon can freely convert soul power into liquid or solid transparent substances. The materialized soul power has a certain hardness and can reduce the impact of external forces. The hardness and impact absorption effect are proportional to the total amount of soul power he invests. A very good auxiliary ability. This is how Amon evaluated this soul bone skill. Of course, what makes him most satisfied is that it can generate monocles anytime and anywhere. Although he is dominated by the personality and memory of the Traverser, after integrating Amon's clone, he has also been infected with some of Amon's habits, such as feeling very awkward if he does not wear a monocle on his right eye. Not long after, Frostleaf City appeared in the sight of the two. This is a small town, but it is the most prosperous place in this area. The northern province is close to the far north. Due to the harsh natural climate, the land is vast and sparsely populated. Frostleaf City is located in the northern part of the northern province, which is even more so. The other nearest cities are also hundreds of miles away. Stop. The guards at the city gate stop the two people. Adults pay 1 copper coin to enter the city. If the goods exceed 50 kilograms, you need to pay an additional 1. He glanced at Amon and added, "Children can enter the city for free." Demeter hung the bamboo basket on the weighing bar without pressing the weight of the weight and threw a copper coin into the iron coin box with ease. The guard nodded and waved his hand, indicating that the tick could go in. After entering the city, Amon asked, "Do you know where I can find a job in the city?" "Looking for a job?" Aren't you going back to the village? Well, I want to see. There should be more possibilities in the city. Dimitri held his chin and thought for a while, and said, when I came here a few days ago, I saw that the Icewind Junior Soul Master Academy was recruiting assistants. Maybe you can try it. Thank you for your information. Amon nodded. Point after the two parted, Amon asked for directions again and again, and walked towards the academy point. When he walked to a corner, a child with long red hair suddenly rushed out, and hit him hard, and he fell backwards under the reaction of this force. Sorry. She quickly got up, apologized, and hurried away. Amon pinched his monocle, looked at her back as she went away, and said, TSK interesting. 10 minutes later, he arrived at his destination. Two guards with iron bars hanging around their waists stood at the door, leaning against the pillars on both sides. Listless, one of them yawned, glanced at Amon who was approaching, and muttered in confusion, child? I haven't seen him before. He shouldn't be a student here. Hello, is this Bingfeng Junior Soul Master Academy? Are you still recruiting assistants? Amon asked. You are Soul Master? The guard quickly turned his back away from the pillar, and said with a hint of respect, yes, I heard that they are recruiting assistants here, so I came to give it a try. Please follow me. I will take you to see the dean, and he will handle all personnel matters personally. Led by the guard, Amon came to a 2-story stone building, walked upstairs, turned right, and came to the dean's office. The guard knocked on the door. Come in. The dean, Shi Guanteo, was an old man who looked to be in his 60s or 70s, with white hair, a long beard on his chin, not deep wrinkles on his face, and a pair of bright eyes. Dean Shi, this gentleman is here to apply for the position of assistant teacher. After saying that, the guard left the office consciously. Shi Guanteo nodded and looked at Amon. Looking at this half-grown child, he hesitated for a moment and asked, please introduce yourself. My name is Amon, a level 13 auxiliary soul master, and I have a lot of experience in close combat. Amon briefly introduced himself. How old are you this year? Well, 12 years old. Let your marshal so loud for us to see. Amon followed suit and stretched out his right hand. With the flash of grey light, a translucent worm with 12 rings and star-like colors kept swimming in his palm. At the same time, a yellow soul ring slowly emerged, emitting a faint glow. 100-year soul ring? At your age, you should be able to go to the Intermediate Soul Master Academy for further studies, right? Shi Guanteo asked with some doubts. There are always some unsatisfactory things in life, and there are all kinds of helplessness. Amon shrugged, the corners of his mouth slightly back, pulling out a smile. In Shi Guanteo's opinion, this smile was bitter. He nodded and said, the salary of an assistant teacher is not high. 5 gold soul coins per month. Food and accommodation are provided, and there is a 1-week trial period. Of course, if the performance is good, the salary can be appropriately increased. Amon asked in surprise, is that all? I thought there would be some assessment. After hearing this, Shi Guanteo laughed. It's not that complicated. The work of an assistant teacher is not difficult. There will be formal school teachers to guide you, and you only need to teach some low-grade students, which any soul master can do. Any soul master can do it. This sentence sounds simple, but in fact the threshold is not low, because the condition of soul master alone screens out more than 90% of ordinary people. Do you have a place to live? Shi Guanteo asked. No, I just came from the village today. I'll take you to the staff dormitory. After allocating the accommodation, Shi Guanteo handed Amon a card with the college emblem printed on it. This is a certificate of faculty and staff. With this card, you can enjoy many conveniences in the college. It was almost evening, and Amon was going to buy some suitable clothes and taste the local specialties. He subconsciously touched his chest, and remembered that the lovely gold soul coins had left him. Recalling the scene of colliding with the red-haired child on the road, he raised his right hand to adjust his monocle, and whispered to himself, interesting, I was robbed. Chapter 3 The Power of the Martial Soul. The body that Amon traveled through was already in a weak state after resurrection, and he immediately fought with others, and then hurried on his way. His condition had dropped to the lowest point. He didn't want to conflict with others at this time. What he needed most now was rest and recovery. Moreover, these thieves, beggars, and gangsters in the city often survive in groups. Catching one might cause a group of them. However, although I have been kicked out of the group chat by Amon in the mysterious world, and although the majority of people are travelers, I'm Amon after all. When have I ever suffered such grievances? The next time I see that thief, I must let her see what a thief is. Amon smiled and shook his head, and went to the cafeteria with his employee card to receive a free meal. After a simple dinner, he went to the library. The library of Bingfeng Junior Soul Master Academy does not have a rich collection, with only 3 bookshelves of books, which is naturally incomparable to the vast amount of books in the library before the travel. Considering that the time of Douluo 1 is considered ancient in the Douluo series, the collection of books in these 3 bookshelves is already quite impressive. Amon borrowed a book Xiandao Historical Chronicles, registered with the administrator, and returned to his dormitory. He did not read it immediately, but began to study the martial soul. In the composition of the combat power of the soul master. In addition to the soul skills, the characteristics of the martial soul itself are also a part that cannot be ignored. Some martial souls have special abilities. The time worm is obviously also a kind of martial soul with special abilities. Amon urged the soul power, and a translucent worm with 12 rings and star-colored spots appeared in his palm. With the injection of soul power, the time worm emitted a grey glimmer. The light became brighter and brighter, and a more illusory, almost transparent shadow separated from the original time worm martial soul, and then gradually condensed and turned into a new time worm. Amon's soul power also dropped from the original level 13 to level 12. This is a substantial reduction in soul power, which can only be upgraded through cultivation, rather than ordinary soul power consumption. At the same time, a sense of weakness came from the depths of the soul. Amon felt that his senses were much duller, and the efficiency of absorbing surrounding energy became lower. This is the special ability of the time worm martial soul, splitting. The split time worm can exist in the state of martial soul, and can also condense the body, and exist in the form of a human. They can practice and upgrade themselves, but the highest level cannot exceed 10 levels less than the original body. Splitting will not only reduce the soul power level, but also weaken the soul, reducing the cultivation speed of the original body. The degree of decline is related to the proportion of the soul of the split time worm. The resulting soul weakening is recoverable, and the soul of the split time avatar will gradually be supplemented. In other words, the cultivation talents of the original body and the clone will gradually increase over time, until they are finally restored to the talents that the original body should have when it is not split, but it takes a long time. The clones can also be aggregated to form a time clone with a more complete soul and higher soul power level. This still needs to comply with the limit that the clone cannot exceed the level of the main body -10. The main body can replenish the soul and recover from injuries by absorbing the clone, but it cannot directly increase the soul power level. Amon is not very clear about the original owner's talent. He estimates that after crossing over, his talent should be innate full soul power. Only such a talent can match such a powerful martial soul as the time worm. Amon did not study for too long, because he had to teach the next day. He needed this job now, and had to take it seriously. Being a teacher assistant in the college can borrow books to accumulate knowledge. The work is easy, and does not delay cultivation. Early the next morning, he came to the office of the grade director. "Hello, Director Lu, I'm the new assistant teacher Amon. Please give me more advice in the future." Grade Director Lu Wenkang is a middle-aged man with half a bald head. He wears a loose robe, and has the temperament of a teacher in the Republic of China. "Yeah." Lu Wenkang nodded and whispered, "I heard that you are good at close combat." "I can only say that I have some experience," Amon answered modestly. As we all know, an excellent thief and fortune teller is often a good user of daggers and short swords, and can be a skilled assassin. There are not many courses in our Junior Soul Master Academy. The main purpose is to teach children some common sense about the Soul Master world. Of course, as a Soul Master, fighting is also indispensable. Since you have expertise in this area, you can try to teach them. It is always good to learn more. Usually, I will prepare the textbooks for the courses for you. You just need to follow the steps. What you need to learn in the lower grades is very simple. Try to teach a second grade class today. I will observe If the effect is good, maybe the academy can add a special combat teaching. This will also give you the opportunity to become a formal teacher and get better treatment. Amon nodded. I will try my best. On the school playground, more than 20 children gathered together and chattered. I heard there's a new teacher today. Very young. I saw him after school yesterday. He's only a few years older than us and looks like the seniors. Is he a handsome guy? A girl with a ponytail asked with curiosity. Humph. Definitely not as handsome as me. A cool boy said unhappily. His attention was focused on the girl with the ponytail, and he couldn't help but feel a little frustrated when he found that the other girl didn't pay attention to him at all. Is he similar to the senior class? Then I hope he is a bit real and not just a fool. A red-haired girl said coldly. But soon her expression changed and she looked at Amon and Luen Khan who were walking towards them. She silently retreated to the back of the crowd, shrank her body, and tried to reduce her presence. Walking up to the children, Amon introduced himself with a smile. Hello, classmates. I'm the new assistant teacher Amon, and I'm honored to be here to impart knowledge to you. I believe everyone is troubled by boring classes. Today, we are going to do something different. As a soul master, you cannot avoid encountering various battles. Although powerful soul skills are an important guarantee in battle, the outcome of the battle does not only depend on the strength of the soul skills. Some fighting skills, it can often have unexpected effects, especially at the low-level soul master stage. Although I really hope that everyone can become a powerful soul master in the future, the reality is that most people are often unable to reach that level. Therefore, learning the skills of close combat can benefit many people throughout their lives. Hearing what he said, there was a loud murmur from the crowd. I won't stop at the low level. I will definitely become a contra in the future. Who wants to learn something useless? Close combat? Isn't that something ordinary people use in fights? Yes, we are noble soul masters. Hearing the children's discussion, Amon just looked on with a smile. Who didn't have a big dream when they were young. The reality in the future will tell them that most of them will not be able to break through soul master in their lifetime. However, it seems to be of some use. Doesn't Yan Jin always rely on his fists to beat people? Well, that's true. She can beat senior students with her fists. Can we be that good after we learn? They were discussing and looking somewhere. Several different voices changed the children's views, which surprised Amon. He pinched his monocle and looked towards the back of the crowd. That's where the children frequently cast their gaze. Yan Jin, who was behind the crowd, felt the eyes of her classmates, and her expression became increasingly ugly. She now wished she could pretend to be an ostrich and bury her head. When Amon's eyes followed the eyes of others and focused here, her face froze, and her heart seemed to skip a few beats. It seems that the students also have their own opinions on this. Some are against it, and some are in favor. So, how about let's put it into practice? The truth always needs practice to verify. Amon said with a chuckle. Is there any classmate who would volunteer to practice with me? Brush. Everyone looked at the red-haired girl at the back of the crowd and consciously made way for her. Obviously, in their minds, this red-haired girl seemed to be equated with words such as fighting and violence, and they took it for granted that she would come forward at such a time. But Yan Jin just wants to say that he is really not brave at all now. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and gave Amon an awkward yet polite smile. Hello, Amon's eyes became a little dangerous, and he said with a smile, no, I'm not good. We meet again, classmate. Chapter 4. This classmate you don't want. Chapter 4. This classmate you don't want to either. Amon looked at Yan Jin. This was a girl who looked very heroic and gave people the feeling of a tomboy. She has fiery red hair and wears simple but clean clothes. This was the thief who stole his wallet. Amon suddenly felt like he had encountered 008. From when he traveled to Douluo and fought with Old Quinn in Life and Death. He left the village to avoid trouble. His wallet was stolen because of his poor condition, and now he meets him again. Thief. Everything is too coincidental. It's like something is urging the development of the plot, but the poor writer can't control it, making it seem a little unnatural, and then forcing it to be reasonable. However, this is Douluo's world and there is no 008, so it should really be just a coincidence. Amon adjusted his monocle and looked at Yan Jin with a somewhat scrupulous look. Yeah, what a coincidence, what a coincidence. Yan Jin was thinking frantically about countermeasures, but after much deliberation, there was no better way, so he seemed to have no choice but to admit defeat. She said with a bit of flattery, I completely agree with the teacher's point of view. After saying that, she turned to look at her classmates and said coldly, which one of you has an opinion? She didn't know whether her classmates had any objections to Amon's views. She only knew that she had a lot of objections to her classmates now. If these guys hadn't looked at her frequently, she wouldn't have been noticed so quickly. She might have been able to get through this class and have more time to think about countermeasures instead of being caught off guard like she was now. Under her knife sharp eyes, the other children turned their heads one by one, not daring to look at her. Yan Jin stepped forward, came to the opposite side of Amon, and asked, how to practice? Do it directly, okay. Amon nodded. Yan Jin thought about it for 2 seconds, hesitating whether to show off or take action. She was confident in her fighting power, even if she only relies on her fists and no martial arts. She can beat up most of the seniors in the school. Finally she decided to fight. Hit him hard. If you can win the fight cleanly, firstly, it will show your strength and create a shock, and secondly, it will create a conflict. In this way, even if the other party reveals that he stole his money, others may misunderstand that he is deliberately framed because he is embarrassed. In addition, the aggressive side of her character also prompted her to make such a judgment. Yan Jin no longer hesitated and rushed forward with a sudden kick. Amon noticed that her right foot left a deep shoe print on the ground, and she used her soul power. Gathering the soul power into the feet and then exploding it to gain faster speed is already the prototype of self-created soul skills. Amon blocked her fist with his right hand and commented with ease, you are very talented in fighting. Yan Jin looked serious. He held Amon's wrist with his backhand and used it as a fulcrum. He twisted his waist hard and kicked him in the head with a roundhouse kick. After Amon easily blocked it with his other hand, he shook her away with his right hand. After Deng took several steps back, Yan Jin stabilized his figure and looked at Amon solemnly. The opponent was much stronger than the idiot seniors in the school. Although his age and body shape looked similar to those of the 5th and 6th graders, and his soul power was not that strong, the pressure he brought during the fight was completely different. The moves of the two looked very simple, but they were very fast, especially Yan Jin's punches and kicks, which were all aimed at the vital points. If they didn't react, they could cause serious damage in an instant. Looking at Amon's smiling face, Yan Jin gritted his teeth and rushed forward again. This time she punched the latter in the face first, then changed her stance midway and hit him in the abdomen with an elbow. Amon still accurately blocked the incoming elbow with his right palm, but as soon as it came into contact, he frowned, and the impact caused by an explosion of soul power made his entire arm feel numb. He took a step back to slow the impact and counterattacked for the first time. While moving backwards, he exerted force in an extremely unreasonable posture and whipped his leg towards the opponent. This move was beyond Yan Jin's expectation. She couldn't dodge it, so she had to twist her body and try her best to resist with her thick body. Amon's whip leg looked fierce and powerful and even made a whistling sound, but when it actually fell on her body, she found that it didn't hurt at all, and there was only a gentle force pushing her body farther away. Yan Jin rolled on the ground a few times and then bounced up. He patted his clothes and said simply, I lost, Lu. When Khan clapped his hands lightly and praised, very good, a very exciting battle. He recognized Amon's performance. In fact, there are also students in the school who have obtained soul rings and whose soul power has reached level 12 or 3, but they only have empty levels and no fighting ability. You guys, let me see the role of fighting skills in the battle of low-level soul masters. There were many response moves just now that even my eyes lit up. I'll leave this to you. I still have things to deal with. Go and do your work. I will guide them well. Amon responded. After Lu and Khan left, the students gathered around him one by one. Wow, teacher, you are so awesome. You can actually deal with the big sister so easily. Teacher, after we learn your skills, can we be so good? Can you also defeat the elder sister? The Kid who said this obviously didn't notice Yan Jin's face getting darker and darker behind him. The other smart people moved a few steps away from him without leaving a trace. Yan Jin gently hooked his arm around his neck from behind and whispered, "Who do you want to defeat?" Big sister." The fat boy who said the wrong thing turned his head mechanically and then screamed, Gently, I was wrong. I can't breathe. Teacher, do you have a girlfriend?" A bold girl with 2 buns came close. Amon pulled the corner of his mouth and took a step back, thinking that it really deserves to be a place called the Love Continent. Even such a young child knows so much. Okay, classmates, please keep order. Although it is outdoors, this is a classroom. Please respect classroom discipline. In addition, if you want to learn fighting well, a healthy body is essential. Let's run 10 laps around the playground to warm up. Alas, run 10 laps, warm up. Amon's instructions made more than 20 people sigh. The children started running around the playground one by one, leaving only Yan Jin and Amon in place. Yan Jin opened his mouth, but saw Amon put his index finger on his lips, making a gesture to keep quiet. "If you have anything to say, come to me after class. It's class time now. Don't be absent, Yan Jin. You don't want to." Amon's mouth curled up a smile. Yan Jin frowned, looked bitter, and chased after her classmates. Amon watched with interest as a group of little rascals ran around the playground again and again, panting like puppies. Only Yan Jin kept his speed, running from the last to the first, and then left the slower people behind for several laps. "Teacher, can you run a few less laps? Isn't this too much?" A girl was walking as she passed by Amon. "Is it too demanding?" "Don't think so. Look at Yan Jin. She has finished running without blushing or panting." Don't compare us with this freak. She is abnormal." Chapter 5, Things That the Thief Stole. There is a small lake in the center of the academy. Amon sat on a bluestone by the lake, looking at the lake leisurely. The breeze was gentle, the water was rippling, and a few fat ducks were playing in the water. "Amon, give me back my things." Yan Jin came to him angrily, with a cold face. Are you talking about this?" Amon tossed the purse and looked at her with a smile. "Why do I remember that this is my purse?" The gold soul coins collided, making a pleasant dingling sound. This was what Amon took from the opponent during the fighting teaching just now. "Only part of it is yours, and some of it is earned by me stealing, earned with great effort. Give it back to me," Yan Jin said fiercely. "That's not okay. I earned it with my own ability. Why should I give it back? Asshole, what do you want? Stealing is a bad habit." Amon shook his head and taught. "You are more skilled than me." Yan Jin opened his mouth and refuted silently. Instead of trying to solve the problem with words, a hint of ferocity flashed in her eyes, and she whispered, "Then let's solve it with fists." Yan Jin suddenly attacked. A red light emerged, and a ball of hot magma appeared in her palm. Even if the spirit ring has not been attached, even if she can't control it freely, just simply reveal it. But just relying on its own characteristics, this martial soul has shown extremely strong destructive power. Magma. Amon raised his hand with a little solemnity to greet it. He activated the spirit bone ability and turned the spirit power into a protective film covering his hand. In order to resist the high temperature, he injected a lot of spirit power so that the materialized spirit power that should have been transparent was light gray. You crazy? Yan Jin just wanted to scare him and had no intention of hurting anyone. Originally, she planned to take back the martial soul at the end, but Amon raised his hand to greet it, which caught her off guard, so that she had no time to avoid it, and the two came into contact. She was surprised to find that the white palm grabbed her martial soul like grabbing an ordinary stone. "What? You can ignore the high temperature of magma? How did you do it?" Yan Jin's pupils shrank, and he said in disbelief. Amon did not answer, with a smile on his face. In fact, he was not at ease. Although the materialization of soul power itself would not bring much consumption, the magma was constantly consuming his soul power, so he needed to continuously output it to keep the protective film from being burned through. Yan Jin retracted her martial soul. Her eyes gradually became solemn, and she suddenly slid down and hugged Amon's calf. "Teacher, please accept me as your apprentice." Amon's expression stagnated. Although he wanted to teach her a lesson, he did not intend to go too far. After all, she was just a child, and he only intended to tease her a little. The other part, his reaction was beyond his expectations. You said you wanted me to accept you as your apprentice, so you didn't intend to let me teach you. Yeah, that's right. Please teach me how to put other people's wealth into your pocket without leaving a trace. She clasped her hands together and said with a serious expression, I'm a teacher in the school, not a pickpocket on the street. Do you think I can teach this? I'm a student in the school. Why can't I learn the skills of the teacher? Tell me about yourself. My name is Yan Jin. I'm 7 years old this year. I'm a level 9 soul master. My martial soul is magma, and my innate soul power is level 8. I have 8 younger brothers under me. People I know on the road call me Little Kwashui. She patted her chest proudly and seemed to be very satisfied with her nickname. Kwashui is a respectful title given by the hired labor groups in the city to people with high prestige within the group. It probably means the same as the leader or the boss. In addition, some criminal gangs also call their leaders Kwashui. Amon thought she was probably the leader of a small theft gang. Why do you do this kind of business? There are also work-study programs in the school. With your talent, you should be able to cultivate to the level of a soul master soon. At that time, you can go to the Wuhan Hall to receive a subsidy of a gold soul coin every month. Although you can't have big fish and meat, it is enough for daily living expenses. He asked with some suspicion. Well, I think it's not bad now. Yan Jin's eyes were a little vague. With your talent, no one wants to take you as a disciple. An old man from the spirit hall asked me, but there are always all kinds of helplessness in life. For some reasons, I refused. I have reasons to stay in Frostleaf City. It's up to you. You choose your own path, as long as you don't regret it in the future. Amon took out his share from his wallet and threw the rest to her. Thank you, teacher. Yan Jin accepted it with surprise. She thought she would not come back. As for taking you as a disciple, let me verify some things first. Amon pinched his monocle point after leaving. Amon found Lu Wenkong and asked him about Yan Jin. Director Lu, Yan Jin is a very talented person, so she should be a popular talent, right? Has no one thought of training her? Lu Wenkong shook his head and replied, she has a magma spirit and is at the 8th level of innate, so she is a rare talent that only appears once every 10 years. But she once rejected a big shot in the spirit hall, and it seems that she angered him. So no one mentioned taking her in as a disciple for a while. Originally, the dean had this plan. He wanted to wait for a year or two, when the people in the spirit hall had forgotten about it, and then ask her. But the child always dealt with gangsters on the street, and did many illegal things. We turned a blind eye to her behavior, but no one was optimistic about her anymore. There was a trace of regret in his tone. Is that so? Amon nodded in understanding. Can you tell me about the spirit hall? I'm quite curious about the first soul master organization on the continent. The spirit hall. Lu Wenkong's face showed a trace of complexity. They are indeed the hope of civilian soul masters, and have made a lot of contributions to the development of soul masters on the continent. But with the gradual expansion of their power, they have gradually become a major destabilizing factor in the empire. As he spoke, he suddenly stopped, realizing that he had spoken out of turn, and some ideas should not be expressed too blatantly. Amon seemed to be unaware inside. His Majesty the Pope must be a very powerful spirit master. Of course, a weak person is not qualified to lead the spirit hall. Who is the current Pope? I heard my father mention it, but I can't remember clearly. It seems to be His Highness Kayang Sunji. That was 6 years ago. The current Pope is His Highness Bibidang, the disciple of His Highness Kayang Sunji. 6 years ago, yes, the position of Pope changed 6 years ago. It is said that many major events happened at that time. Lu Wenkong suddenly laughed. Why are you interested in Yan Jin, the troublemaker? If you want to ask me who in the spirit hall she offended, I can only say that I don't know. Amon smiled and shook his head. 6 years. Then Tangson is about 6 years old, and the plot has just begun. There is still plenty of time, he thought in his heart. Chapter 6 Invitation. Half a month has passed since he came to Douluo world, and Amon has gradually become familiar with the rules of Frostleaf City Point. This is a backward and barbaric city point. The Nords are the main ethnic group in the northern province. They are rude and aggressive, and often fight over a disagreement, just like a group of human honey badgers. Perhaps it is because most Nords are stubborn, and the proportion of soul masters among them is very low. Yan Jin can be regarded as a typical representative of Nord soul masters. She has fought with more than half of the students in the school. Fuck, who are you scolding? The two drunkards accidentally bumped into each other, and then a fight broke out. One picked up a stone, and the other picked up a stick. They developed from pushing and shoving with bare hands to fighting with weapons. The pedestrians on the side were not surprised at all, and some even watched the show with relish. Well, this punch is really good, with great force and tricky angles. Someone applauded. A patrolling guard passed by and yelled, "Didn't I say that we can't fight on the street? If you want to fight, find an empty alley to solve it by yourselves. No one will care, even if you use knives." Amon glanced at the guard. This was already considered to be faithful to his duty. Most people turned a blind eye. He came to a clothing store. A man wearing a khaki robe and a semicircular felt hat came out with a smile. "Hello, customer. Oh, it's you? The clothes you ordered here are ready." The store manager was very impressed with Amon, a big customer. Few people in Frostleaf City were willing to pay a gold soul coin to order a flashy and thin robe. After all, the climate in the Northland province is cold. Ordinary people can only wear such robes on the hottest days of the year. Even soul masters with strong physiques prefer to wear those fleece clothes. Amon put on the customized clothes and stood in front of the full-length mirror to look at himself. Black eyes, black hair, wide forehead, thin lips, thin face, pointed wide-brimmed soft hat, black classical robe, and black leather boots. He exudes a light bookish air and a bit of wizard-like mystery. "Customer, are you satisfied?" "Not bad." Amon handed the balance of 3 gold soul coins to the store manager, picked up the remaining clothes in the bag, and walked out of the clothing store. He touched the remaining 6 gold soul coins in his pocket and said to himself, "Maybe I should find a way to make some money." Putting the clothes back to the staff dormitory, he walked to the west of the city. This is the most chaotic street in Frostleaf City. Dirty alleys, dilapidated houses, complicated roads, idle hooligans, and hungry refugees, all kinds of reasons intertwined, making this place a breeding ground for sin. A thin man with a pointed face and monkey cheeks looked at the clothes on Amon with greedy eyes. His Adam's apple rolled up and down. He finally made a decision and tiptoed closer. Amon noticed his movements with his peripheral vision, but ignored them. He just thought in his heart whether he should cut his throat or pierce his heart if the other party wanted to harm him. To his surprise, the man did not attack and hurt people. Instead, he bowed his head and said, "My lord, what can I do for you?" Amon was silent for a while and said softly, "Is Yan Jin a guy who lives in this area? Do you know the specific location?" "Zao. Ikwashui? I know, my lord." He rubbed his palms. Amon understood and threw him 2 copper coins. "Please, follow me." After walking through several alleys, he came to a stone house that looked relatively intact. "It's here." Amon threw 2 more copper coins to the skinny man, sent him away, and stepped forward to knock on the door. "Who is it?" The door opened a crack, and a little head looked out from behind the crack. There was a chain on the door connecting the door frame, and the position where the little head was sticking out was also at knee height, which was unexpected for ordinary people. Amon's condescending gaze collided with Yan Jin's downward gaze in the air. The latter smiled and scratched his head. "Amon, why are you here? Aren't you going to invite me in?" Yan Jin hesitated for a moment, untied the chain, and opened the door. "You are quite cautious." Amon walked into the house. "If I wasn't more cautious, I would have been swallowed up by others without leaving any residue." Yan Jin shrugged. A boy with dark blue hair brought 2 small stools and then retreated behind Yan Jin like a guard. Amon noticed that there were a few younger children in the inner room. Looking over here, he chuckled, took out a bag of candy, and put it on the small table. "Here, are these the 8 brothers under your command?" "Ahaha." Yan Jin scratched the back of her head a little embarrassedly. She noticed that the children looked at the candy with eager eyes and waved her hand and said, "Lei Yin, Take the candy and take the brothers and sisters away. Don't eavesdrop, big sister. Lei Yin looked at Amon hesitantly, her eyes full of vigilance. Don't worry, he is a teacher in the academy. I know. Lei Yin picked up the candy, walked into the inner room, and closed the thick wooden door at the same time. I asked about you. It is said that you rejected the invitation of a contrap. Amon asked. That old man is contrap. I only know that he is a big shot. It seems a bit of a pity. After saying this, Yan Jin didn't look annoyed at all, and she didn't regret her choice, because of them. Yes, if you become his disciple, you have to go to Wuhan City. Although he promised to let the people from Shuangai City Wuhan Palace help take care of Lei Yin and the others, I don't feel at ease. I can feel that he doesn't actually value me that much, let alone it was hard for me to believe that the people he arranged to take care of them would do their best because of me. They were too young, so I refused. That is to say, if you were the only one, would you agree to become his disciple? Are they really that important to you? For this reason, you refuse to take a broad road. You should not be related by blood. Amon straightened his glasses. It's very important. We all belong to the same village. When we encountered bandits, all the adults in the village were killed, and only a few of us were left. Their parents gave their lives to protect us. I can't leave them alone. Take care of them. When I reach adulthood, it's my responsibility, Yan Jin said seriously. So teacher, can't you really teach me? I want them to live a better life. You can't make their lives better through petty means like stealing. Amon shook his head. One mistake can make you and them miserable. Yan Jin looked at the young man in front of him, who was not much older than himself, and felt that he might have had a similar experience to himself. His proficient stealing skills must have been developed after a lot of practice, and he couldn't help but feel a little more sympathetic. Then, you came to me. You interested in joining me? Let's go to the Pan-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Competition together. Although I can't promise you more material help now, I can take you to a bigger stage. Amon Shen, take action and invite. Now? Of course not. I don't have that strength now. I've wasted a lot of time and I need time to catch up. Similarly, you probably can't let go of your younger brothers and sisters. 5 years. I will stay in Frostleaf City for 5 years. By then, you will have just graduated from the Junior Soul Master Academy, and your younger brothers and sisters will be older than you are now. After settling them properly, we will go to the Senior Soul Master Academy. Then find a way to participate in the next Soul Master competition, and prove yourself on that world famous stage. In these 5 years, I will help you on your journey as a Soul Master, and I will also help take care of your younger brothers and sisters. Sounds like a good thing. What do I have to pay? Yan Jin's eyes were full of surprise and vigilance. Don't you want to worship me as your teacher? Just think of me as your teacher. I will arrange for you to do some things. Of course, this must be done, if you are willing. Amon smiled slightly. Oh, well. Chapter 7 Ms. Ma Wen. In fact, there are quite a few people who want to recruit and train Yan Jin. At least several top figures in Frostleaf City have paid some attention to her, but they are not sure about the attitude of the Soul Douluo. Is he disgusted with Yan Jin's indifference? Is he still thinking of taking her as a disciple, or has he forgotten about it? Although it is most likely the last case, they dare not bet. Even if the Soul Douluo himself will not deliberately take action for such a small matter, once he shows a little disgust, those who flatter him may cause trouble. Amon does not have this concern. First, he is alone and there are not many places where he can be targeted. In addition, he is not old now. If others extend an olive branch to Yan Jin, they may be suspected of competing with the Soul Douluo for a disciple. What he does is more of mutual help between peers. After negotiating with Yan Jin, Amon came to the most luxurious mansion in the city. Stopping at the guard at the door, he said politely, "My name is Amon. I'm an assistant teacher at the Icewind Junior Soul Master Academy, and I'm here to visit Ms. Ma Wen." Perhaps it was his pointed hat that made him look much taller, or perhaps it was his clothes that brought a sense of mystery. The guard did not look down on Amon because of his young age, but said respectfully, "Have you made an appointment in advance? If not, please wait. I need to ask for instructions." Then, Thank you. Amon nodded. Ma Wen is one of the 3 most powerful people in Frostleaf City. The other 2 are the head of the Wuhan branch hall and the dean of the Icewind Junior Soul Master Academy. One of them has the Wuhan hall behind him, and no one dares to provoke this behemoth. And the other is the strongest person in Frostleaf City, a 48th level Soul Master. Ma Wen is a businessman who influences every aspect of Frost Leaf City with huge funds. As for the city lord, Frostleaf City does not have that kind of thing. In just 2 years, there have been 3 city lords here. The newly appointed city lord of the empire is still on his way to take office. It is said that he has been on the road for half a year, and it is unknown when he will arrive. After a while, the guard came out and took Amon to the reception room. Haha, I thought it was someone else. Isn't it still a child? Did Shiguanteo ask you to come? Ma Wen sat in the main seat, crossed her legs, supported her right hand on the side of her face, and said with a smile. Amon glanced at the young woman. She was wearing a tiger skin coat. Her wheat-colored skin looked healthy and full of vitality, and her whole person exuded a wild beauty. No, I'm not the dean. I came to you on my own initiative. You said you were an assistant teacher at the college. Why do you want to switch jobs and work for me? It may be a little dangerous, but the rewards are more generous. I'm very satisfied with my current job. Since you're not bringing a message to Shiguanteo, nor are you planning to change jobs, what do you want to talk to me about? I don't think there's anything for me to talk about with a kid like you. You'd better give a reasonable explanation, or I'll teach you a lesson. I don't think Shiguanteo will bother me for such a small matter. Ma Wen showed a trace of impatience on her face. I'm here to solicit investment. Ms. Ma Wen, you are a businessman and should have a good business sense. Investing in a commodity can bring you profits, and investing in a person can also make you gain benefits. Investing in people. Haha, you don't want me to invest in you, do you? Then tell me what investment value you have and what kind of return you can bring to me. Ma Wen's eyes became dangerous. Your speech is the same as most scammers. Don't let me be sure of this. You should know the consequences. Do you know the Pan-Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Competition? Does this have anything to do with what we are going to talk about? Ma Wen had a hint of doubt on her face. Of course it is related. It is held every 5 years. I can't count on the next one, but I'm sure that I can form a team to participate in the next one and get a good ranking. At that time, I will promote the Icethorn Chamber of Commerce, and I will work for you for 3 years after the competition. How about it? Haha, is this what you call investment? Am I stupid enough to believe what others say? Use real money to bet on something illusory in the future? There was already a hint of murderous intent in her tone, although I really want to say that my talent is not bad. My current state is really not convincing. Do you believe in Yan Jin? Are you willing to invest in her? Amon was not shaken by Ma Wen's murderous intention and said very calmly. In order to facilitate sponsorship, this is also the reason why Amon contacted Yan Jin. He himself is only a level 12 soul master now, and he is also 12 years old. Others don't know that his inner self has undergone earth-shaking changes. In the eyes of others, his talent can only be said to be mediocre. If he comes to lobby alone, there is a high possibility of failure, but it will be different if he is tied to Yan Jin. Yan Jin's talent is obvious to all. After being personally certified by Contra, I believe many people will consider it. Their biggest concern is Contra's attitude. As long as this influence is eliminated, there is a high possibility of attracting sponsorship. Yan Jin, are you talking about the kid who was so stupid that he refused to be recruited by Soul Douluo? Ma Wen's anger eased a little, and he pondered. That kid is indeed worth investing in. The vision of the big shots in the spirit hall is naturally not bad, but she angered that adult because of that stubbornness. Obviously, that adult had already promised to let the people of the Spirit Hall of Frostleaf City properly place the gang of kids under her, but she still couldn't let them go, refused to go to Wuhan City, and finally angered the Soul Douluo away. Her talent is good, but not good enough to make a Soul Douluo willing to bring a group of burdens for her. I think no one in this Frostleaf City can withstand the anger of a Soul Douluo. No one dares to recruit her before confirming the attitude of that big shot. It's not recruitment, but investment. Amon raised his index finger and shook it gently. An, you are investing in me, not her. It's just that she is half of my disciple, so part of your investment will also be reflected in her through me. This is different from your taking Yan Jin into the Chamber of Commerce. The other party cannot establish a too close relationship with Yan Jin, which is why Amon listed Ma Wen as the first consideration point compared to taking in disciples. Commercial investment like Ma Wen is more appropriate. It not only expresses enough goodwill to Yan Jin, but also does not make the relationship too close. Ma Wen is a little moved. Although Yan Jin often steals, he is loyal to his friends because he refuses to be recruited by Seoul Douluo. What limits the development of the Chamber of Commerce is the lack of support from reliable strong men. She has been planning to cultivate powerful soul masters close to the Chamber of Commerce for a long time, but it has been ineffective. After all, the return on investment cycle is too long, and it is difficult to find a suitable target. As for seeking cooperation directly from powerful soul masters, it is hard to say who will be in control at that time. She will inevitably lose a lot of autonomy. She does not want the Chamber of Commerce she has worked so hard to build to belong to others. She had previously considered how to directly absorb Yan Jin into the Chamber of Commerce, but gave up because of concerns about Seoul Douluo. Amon's proposal brought another safer form. It is also certain what the attitude of the Seoul Douluo will be in 8 years, and the risks during this period will be borne by Amon. Although Yan Jin did not directly join the Chamber of Commerce in this way and his relationship with the Chamber of Commerce is not so close, it is safer. Will she be willing to go with you? Ma Wen asked. Amon nodded slightly and said she has agreed. She rejected the Seoul Douluo before because her brothers were too young, so she was worried. I will stay here until she graduates from the Icewind Junior Soul Master Academy. By then, the youngest of the people who make her worried will be 8 or 9 years old, older than she is now. If you are willing to take care of those children during the time we are away, what else can she worry about? Yan Jin is better than you think. Her talent is not only reflected in the cultivation of soul power, but also in combat. She is also a genius, with amazing combat intuition, self-taught soul power application skills, good training speed, and my planning and guidance. She is destined to become a powerful soul master. I will take her to join the Northern Advanced Soul Master Academy, and then participate in the Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite competition. If we don't qualify to join the Advanced Soul Master Academy in 5 years, we will be your subordinates and sell you the rest of our lives. How about that? I have to say, your words moved me. Ma Wen put down her crossed legs and changed to a more upright sitting posture, with some solemnity in her dark brown pupils. Then what specific investment method do you want to talk about? Amon said the plan he had prepared long ago. When we are in the Junior Soul Master Academy, give us 500 gold soul coins every year, and when we go to the Advanced Soul Master Academy, 2000 gold soul coins every year. When Yan Jin and I get the first and second ring soul rings, the Icethorn Chamber of Commerce needs to provide help. Also, arrange a house for us next to the academy. When we leave Frostleaf City to study at the Advanced Soul Master Academy in 5 years, you have to take good care of Yan Jin's brothers and sisters. Of course, the return after 8 years is a bit too late, so we will also give some feedback during this period. I remember the Chamber of Commerce has something to do with clothing. Let's put it this way. Except for occasions where school uniforms are required, you will arrange Yan Jin's clothing. You can print the Chamber of Commerce logo on her clothes. In addition, the school sometimes organizes some competitions, and you can let her wear the new style of clothes you want to launch on such occasions. Or, to be more direct, print advertising patterns of other products on her clothes. Amon paused and continued. According to Yan Jin's personality, she will always attract attention, no matter where she is. As long as she is good enough, there will be no worries that no one will notice the advertisements on her clothes. In addition, if this form of advertising brings good results, you also need to give us extra compensation. It's a very creative idea. Your idea alone is of great value. As a shrewd businessman, Ma Wen immediately grasped the key points. She smiled and said, then it's settled. In addition, bring Yan Jin, the kid, to meet me tonight, and don't let others know. Happy Cooperation. Amon raised his right hand and pinched his monocle. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Clone. After Amon brought Yan Jin to negotiate with Ma Wen, the latter delivered this year's 500 gold soul coins on the spot and threw the key to a property next to the Icewind Junior Soul Master Academy to Amon Point. After leaving Thorn Manor, Yan Jin picked up Lei Yin and others. Compared to the chaotic and dangerous places on West Street, the place next to the academy was obviously much safer. We going to live here from now on? Lei Yin was still in disbelief and looked at Yan Jin worriedly. Sister, what have you done? He knows that there is no free lunch in the world. To get so much, there must be a corresponding price. It's nothing. I just might need to work for Ma Wen in the future. Ma Wen? That Ms. Ma Wen? Lei Yin was shocked. We all know that her industry involves many dangerous areas, and you may die if you work for her. Return the money quickly, sister. We can't let you take such a big risk. Yan Jin rolled his eyes. Do you think it's too late to retreat now? If you want to go back on the agreement you made with Ma Wen, I'm afraid there will be a few more hanging corpses on the bacon tree outside the city tomorrow. The bacon tree is a big tree not far from the entrance of Frostleaf City. People often find corpses inexplicably growing on the tree in the early morning, hanging like bacon. Anyone who knows the inside story knows that this is the work of the Icethorn Chamber of Commerce, and that Ma Wen is intimidating those who dare to offend her. Don't worry, I won't work for her right away, but later. What we get now can be regarded as her investment in us, or it can also be regarded as an alternative student loan. Besides, I don't necessarily need to work for her in the future. It may be a cooperation. It depends on the height I can reach by then. Besides, you will all wear this kind of clothes when you go out in the future. Yan Jin threw the clothes provided by the Icethorn Chamber of Commerce to Lei Yin. This is the work uniform of the Icethorn Chamber of Commerce that Yan Jin asked Ma Wen for in addition to the clothes she had to wear according to the terms of the contract. This is also a guarantee for the safety of the younger brothers and sisters. In Frostleaf City, few people dare to provoke the Icethorn Chamber of Commerce. After appeasing Lei Yin, Yan Jin put on a pair of black clothes provided by the Chamber of Commerce, moved his arms, and muttered, "Do I have to wear clothes like this all the time from now on?" Amon smiled and said, "Although this may affect you in dressing up in your favorite clothes in front of your classmates, thinking on the bright side, having free clothes to wear is not a bad thing. No, I don't care about dressing up. It's just that a few women's clothes are a bit cumbersome and not conducive to movement during a fight. But why don't you wear the clothes of the Icethorn Chamber of Commerce? Because I'm not as noticeable as you. For example, in our school, not many seniors know me as a teaching assistant, but everyone knows the famous Yan Jin." Amon had a smile on his face. "Oh, is that so?" Yan Jin said with a trace of suspicion on his face. "You should give me my share." Amon handed 100 gold soul coins to Yan Jin. The latter whispered softly, "Why not share it equally? Is this an investment for the two of us? Because this is the sponsorship I got," Amon explained, "and I will also provide you with guidance on the path of a soul master." In fact, most of the 500 gold soul coins were invested by Ma Wen because of Yan Jin's talent, and Amon was just incidental. Her willingness to deliver it on the spot was also out of recognition for Yan Jin. The essence of this transaction is that Amon is selling the possibility of Rock Ash's future. But Yan Jin herself didn't know. She only knew that Amon had obtained many favorable conditions for them during the negotiations. "Okay, that's reasonable." Yan Jin nodded and agreed to this distribution, and felt that the Amon people were quite good. The house Ma Wen lent them was quite large, and had a yard. Amon chose a room on the east side. He ran to the school dormitory, and took out his belongings. Returning to his residence, Amon closed the door, and 2 streams of light flew out of his body, transforming into 2 teenagers who looked exactly like him. After this period of exploration, He also had a deeper understanding of the characteristics of his martial soul point. Of course, the insect of time spirit is not as weird and powerful as the real insect of time, but it only possesses some of its abilities. The process of splitting is essentially the distribution of souls and soul power. Amon inherited the ability to use extraordinary power from the mysterious Amon clone, so he could sense subtle changes in his own soul. This half-month experiment was enough for him to conduct a quantitative analysis of the recovery and completion progress of his soul point. Set your original complete soul as a standard unit of soul, and set your original complete state's cultivation speed to the cultivation speed of the innate full soul power. A 10% soul share is approximately equal to the innate first level cultivation talent point. Regardless of whether it is the main body or the clone, the soul is slowly being completed. The more copies are allocated to the clone, the faster the soul is completed. He roughly estimated that for a body with 85% of the soul, it would take about a year to replenish 10% of the soul point. For a clone with 10% of the soul, it would take far longer than a year to replenish 10% of the soul. As for the other clone with only half of the soul, it would take even longer. However, the completion efficiency of a clone with 10% soul share is not as good as the sum of two clones with half a soul share point. For Amon as a whole, the greater the number of split time clones, the faster the overall soul growth rate point. Amon cannot create time clones indefinitely, because in order to carry a complete consciousness, a half-complete soul is required at least. In addition, the smallest soul power level unit of the clone is also half a level. If it is lower, it cannot manifest a body and cannot practice independently. Point with a thought, he split another clone with a half-complete soul and half-level soul power. The clone with 10% soul and first level soul power that was originally used for comparison was also split into two half-level ones. With the splitting of the time worm, the soul power level of his original body was also reduced to level 11. Splitting 4 half-level clones is his current limit. In addition, he is not going to reduce the soul of the original body to less than 80%, which will cause the original body to practice to slowly. He needs to ensure that the cultivation speed of the original body remains at a certain level. Otherwise, if his own soul power level is too low, he will not even be qualified to participate in the plot, let alone gain benefits from it. Amon has his own small goal to become a god faster than Tangsan. Before Tangsan became a god, the Douluo continent received relatively little interference from the high-level gods. When he became a god, the rule that gods should not interfere with the lower world without reason would be meaningless. Condensing a pair of monocles and wearing them on his right eye, the 4 clones Amon focused on the borrowed books and began to study. 1 Amon suddenly laughed. He remembered his childhood dream, or wish, before he crossed over when he was in school. He always hoped to have a few clones to help him with homework and classes. Now, this wish seems to have come true. The clones are only half level and have poor cultivation talents, but they are very suitable for learning. They can directly transmit what they have learned to the main body through consciousness synchronization, thus saving a lot of time. The main body Amon sat on the bed. To practice soul power, Amon entered into meditation skillfully, and he felt as if he was in the void. There were light spots floating around him, and as his mental power diverged, the light spots kept moving closer to him. Chapter 9 The Amons. Amon sat cross-legged on the bed. The free energy continued to gather. When the soul power scattered in the surrounding space entered his body, layers of whispers suddenly appeared in his mind. These whispers were soft but dense, and they became louder and louder as time went by, becoming hoarse and low, with a hint of madness and the horror he learned from others that, although they felt bored when meditating, the process of absorbing free energy would make the body feel warm. If they could endure the loneliness, it would be a kind of enjoyment. Amon's meditation process could be called torture. Even if it would not make him crazy or cause his spirit to be polluted, it was irritating. He guessed that this should be due to his own martial soul, which came from the mysterious world and brought the chaotic and disordered characteristics of the underlying logic of the mysterious world. It was not only bad. This kind of polluting madness affected his soul power, making his soul power cold and evil. This cold, evil, and crazy nature is nothing to Amon, who is used to it, but once it causes harm to others, the soul power will invade and affect their spirit for a short time. Those with weak minds may even suffer permanent mental weakness. In the past half month, Amon has read a lot of books about politics, sect power, local customs, and people's customs, and has a better understanding of this world. Next, he plans to learn about soul beasts. To obtain a suitable soul ring, it is essential to understand soul beasts while learning. The clones will mark the soul beasts that may be suitable for them and keep records. I found a very interesting soul beast, and Amon took the book and showed the page he saw to others. Slime. Yes, this kind of soul beast can multiply by self-division, similar to us. Should we consider making it the target of our next soul ring? No. Need. If multiple slimes can improve the soul power level after merging and become a stronger whole, it will be a good choice, but it can only split, which is not very meaningful. Each Amon has a different personality and thinks about problems from different angles. There is a possibility of discussion and communication between Amon, and sparks of ideas in the communication. 4. The general direction of each soul skill in the future. Didn't the main body have a plan before we split out? All we need to do is find a soul beast that meets the requirements. As for the different opinions, let's leave it until we cultivate Yan Jin. The Amons ended the discussion. The decision made by the main body before the split was equivalent to the result of the Amon referendum, which was higher than any single Amon's will. In the living room, Yan Jin sat on a chair, Lei Yin and the other 7 children sat on a bench, sitting in 2 rows in front of her looking at Yan Jin's serious face. The joy of several children moving into their new home gradually faded, and they began to feel uneasy. I have something very important to tell you. Yan Jin spoke slowly. Just today, Amon led me to reach an agreement with Ma Wen. When the children heard the name Ma Wen, they were in a commotion. They knew the weight of this name in Shuangai City, and knew that it was a big shot that must not be provoked. Amon and I accepted Ma Wen's investment together. We need to enter the Advanced Soul Master Academy in 5 years, and then we must qualify to participate in the Pan-Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Competition. If everything goes well, I will work for her, or become her partner in 8 years. Lei Yin opened his mouth, but did not speak, and listened to her statement quietly. This means that I have to leave Shuangai City in 5 years. You need to mature in these 5 years and at least be able to survive on your own. Otherwise, I can't leave at ease at that time. Sister, you have done enough for us. We can't drag you down anymore. A slightly plump girl next to Lei Yin said. What Lei said is right. We can't be an obstacle to your progress. 5 years later, the youngest among us will be 9 years old, 2 years older than you are now. If we still need to rely on you by then, it will be useless. Another person nodded. Yan Jin scanned the crowd with her dark red eyes and said, Lei Yin, do you have anything to say? Lei Yin pondered for a while and asked, is Ma Wen really trustworthy? Didn't we see people who cooperated with the Ice Thorn Chamber of Commerce in West Street before? But in the end they were squeezed out of the last bit of value, and could only lie in the stinking ditch, and wait for death. His words reminded the children of the man who had broken his limbs, covered in blood, and groaned helplessly in the stinking ditch. Don't you worry about this, I'll take care of it. Yan Jin also had some hidden worries in her heart, but she would not show them, as it would only add to the children's troubles. Anyway, I have to leave in 5 years, and you will have to live on your own for more than 3 years, until I come back from the Soul Master competition. But don't worry too much, Ma Wen will also take care of you to a certain extent in these 3 years. Okay, don't worry about it anymore. The important thing now is that we have money. Let's go shopping tomorrow, and you can buy whatever you want to eat. Yan Jin stood up and announced. Oh, the children all cheered, full of expectations for tomorrow. In the dark shadows, 2 sturdy and burly men stood under the tree, looking at the house where Yan Jin lived. Of course, Ma Wen would not be so confident to directly pay the outstanding amount without any insurance. Few people dared to deceive her, but there were some. Every year, she would hang a few liars who were blinded by greed on the bacon tree. She sent people to monitor him. If Amon wanted to leave Frostleaf City in the next few days, she would hunt him down immediately. After all, according to the agreement, he would stay in Frostleaf City until Yan Jin graduated. If he left early, it could be basically concluded that he had cheated the money and wanted to run away. The wind blew the leaves, making a rustling sound. Hearing the faint cheers coming from the house, one of them nodded. It seems that they have no intention of escaping immediately. It's better to be cautious and monitor for a few more nights. After all, that's a lot of money. I don't think anyone in Frostleaf City dares to deceive Master Ma Wen, but we can't make any mistakes, otherwise we will be in trouble. The key is that man named Amon. Yan Jin and those little ghosts can't get away. Soul Masters are so good. They can get such a large sum of money from Master Ma Wen just by talking. We can't get it, even if we work hard for several years. One of them, who was wearing dark blue clothes and had a little finger missing on his left hand, said with a bit of greed and jealousy, "Walsh, don't have any bad ideas. You should know what money you can't touch. And that's the Master Soul Master. Even a little ghost like Yan Jin who has the qualifications of a Soul Master can do well in the slums. The real Soul Master is not something we can deal with. The most important thing is that this is Master Ma Wen's investment money." "I know," Walsh replied perfunctorily. He closed his eyes slightly to hide the greed in them. Chapter 10 Self-Created Soul Skills. Ho, ha, Yan Jin held her position for a long time, then punched out. The tip of her fist was filled with magma created by her martial spirit. The magma slowly flew forward 2 meters before falling to the ground, burning the dust and making a sizzling sound. "Oh, no, Amon, you can't shoot the magma like an arrow." Yan Jin was practicing the use of martial arts under Amon's guidance, but the progress was not satisfactory. She said with some frustration. In the research and application of martial arts, imagination is also a very important part. What Amon lacks most is all kinds of wild ideas. He provided Yan Jin with several feasible development ideas, but it was a bit difficult to implement them. Magma belongs to the weapon soul. Weapon spirit, as the name suggests, means instrument. The most obvious feature of this type of spirit is that it can be used as a tool. Knives, swords, hammers, etc. are typical representatives. However, although weapons such as magma have entities, they cannot be held and are difficult to use. There are great restrictions on the use and development of martial spirits, and it is difficult to bring out the characteristics of their weapons. In comparison, beast spirits with elemental characteristics seem to have more advantages. Amon guessed that this was also the reason why Contra didn't pay too much attention to Yan Jin. He pinched his monocle and chuckled. "That's because your soul control level is not up to paragraph improving. The level of soul power control sounds easy, but in reality it's not that easy," Yan Jin said with a frown. "This isn't difficult." As he spoke, Amon stretched out his right index finger and thumb, making a gesture of raising a gun. With the sound of BIU, a small hole exploded in the trunk of a tree not far away. Bullet is a soul power application technique developed by Amon in order to make up for the lack of attack power in his soul skills. It can be regarded as a small self-created soul skill. The principle is to use soul power to compress and wrap the air and then launch it. After the soul power bullet hits the impact, the stable structure of the soul power film wrapped on the surface will be broken and the air inside will burst out, forming an impact. It sounds very simple, but in fact it is very difficult. This requires extremely high levels of control. Amon's first soul ring has the passive effect of improving his soul power control, and the skills provided by the soul bone that can materialize his soul power also make it easier to control his soul power. Isn't my air bullet much harder than using your soul power to blast out the magma created by your martial soul? Looking at the wounds on the tree trunk, Yan Jin's eyes narrowed. The destructive power caused by the move just now was actually not that big. Unless the head, neck, heart and other vital parts were hit, the person probably wouldn't have died. But the key is that Amon's attack is very fast, and the movement is very small, almost undetectable, and it is a long-range attack. She has strong intuition in combat, and is keenly aware of the practical value of air bullets. What surprised her even more was that Amon did not show his martial soul or soul ring when he launched the attack, indicating that this was a self-created soul skill. Having received 1 year of basic soul master education, and having tried it herself, she clearly knew how difficult it was to create her own soul skills. What she didn't know was that even if Amon used martial arts and soul rings, she could not detect it. His first soul skill could cover up the external performance of the soul skill when it was activated. Teacher, can you teach me this trick? Yan Jin's voice suddenly became extremely gentle and sweet. Okay, you've already called me teacher. How can I refuse? Amon told her the principle of air bullets. 3 minutes later, the excitement on Yan Jin's face faded, and he asked with a dull expression, Amon, is this possible for a human to do? Not to mention firing out the air bullet to cause damage. She couldn't even use her soul power to gather and compress the air. It's okay, teacher. Amon, hey, little brat. Amon muttered in his heart. The suggestions I gave you on how to use martial souls are all feasible. It's just that your control is not up to paragraph. What you need to do is to calm down and practice hard. Air bullet is still too difficult for you. But lava bomb is relatively simple. With the example before his eyes, Yan Jin regained his fighting spirit point. While teaching Yan Jin, Amon did not leave behind his own training. In fact, the person interacting with Yan Jin now is just a time clone of his, and he usually uses this clone that is closest to his original personality in class. Amon's true body and 3 other clones have been in the room given by Ma Wen. The 3 clones are learning knowledge, while the true body is concentrating on soul power cultivation. There is a spiritual connection between his clone and the main body. Information can be exchanged at any time within 1000 meters. The connection will weaken after 1000 meters. If the distance is too far, mutual perception will be weakened to close to nothing, and only life and death and general directions can be sensed. You are here. Dean, she asked you to come over. Lu Wenkan glanced at Yan Jin, who was humming and ha in the open space, and said to Amon, who was lying on the grass and leaning against the tree trunk. Amon put his right hand on the ground and stood up. I'll be there right away. Guanteo was not in the office. When Amon saw him, he was standing on the roof of the teaching building, looking down, and the wind blowing from the south blew his robes. He turned his back to Amon and said without looking back, you moved out of the academy. Yes, I live not far from the college now, just a few steps away. That's Ma Wen's property. Lent it to me for now. Guanteo shook his head. That woman is not a good person. If you think the salary of the academy is low and want to leave, I respect your personal wishes. Amon chuckled and said, no, I'm very satisfied with the life in the academy. I don't have too close contact with her and will not bring trouble to the academy. I just got a student loan from her. Student loan. I used my promise to cooperate with her in the future in exchange for her investment. Maybe I will become a member of the Icethorn Chamber of Commerce in the future, but now I'm just a student who dreams of stepping onto the stage of the Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Competition. Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Competition? Guanteo was slightly moved. He knew the difficulties. It's a great goal. I wish you can achieve it. But one thing is that the academy is a place for teaching and educating people. I don't want to bring the outside world here. This academy is my life's work. If anyone wants to destroy the peace in the academy, I will never let them go. A powerful soul force burst out, and the aura of the soul master was revealed. Amon felt a little chest tightness. He took a deep breath and whispered, I also cherish this peace. Guanteo nodded and encouraged. Then you work hard. If you can reach level 20 before the age of 18, I will write you a letter of recommendation to the Northland Advanced Soul Master Academy. The Northland Advanced Soul Master Academy is the first institution of higher learning in the Northland province. The conditions for entering are relatively harsh. Generally, only outstanding graduates from lower level Soul Master Academies can enter. I will work hard. Thank you for your help. Amon's mouth corners slightly raised, revealing a hint of smile. Chapter 11 The Choice of the First Soul Ring. Amon finished his training and let out a breath. His soul power increased by 1 level and returned to level 12. Move your body to relax the stiff muscles caused by holding one position for a long time. Amon, I'm at level 10. The door opened with a bang, and Yan Jin ran in excitedly and shouted. She was very excited. At the 10th level, she could hunt for soul rings and become a true soul master. This was a qualitative leap. More importantly, after becoming a soul master, she could go to the spirit hall to receive living allowances every month. If she had had this qualification before, she wouldn't have to be so tired, and she wouldn't be slowed down by the various chores in life. Oh, congratulations then. I have already decided on the goal of your first soul ring for you, Amon said as he took down a book from the shelf. Of course, I just suggest that, if you have different opinions, you can follow your own ideas. Yan Jin touched his head and said, huh? Is there any other way to choose a soul beast? Aren't you going to use whatever you hunt? Use whatever soul beast you hunt. Amon smiled. That is indeed the current situation of most civilian soul masters. They have no one to protect them, and they have no qualifications to choose. They can only rely on luck point. But don't we have the help of Ms. Ma Wen? She will provide help when we need the first and second soul rings. In fact, this is the most important part of the agreement. Then tell me, which soul beast is more suitable for my first soul ring? Yan Jin's eyes lit up. Of course, some choices are the best. Soul skills can be said to be the most important part of a soul master's combat effectiveness. That's it. Amon turned the book to the corresponding page. Yan Jin glanced at it twice, then asked in surprise and doubt. Slime. Yes, it's this kind of soul beast really possible? Yan Jin doesn't like to learn theoretical knowledge, but he still knows the basic principles. Shouldn't the soul beasts we hunt should be as powerful as possible? Only powerful soul beasts can provide powerful soul skills. This statement has some truth and is in line with objective laws, but in battle you do not rely on powerful attack skills to win. Some auxiliary abilities can allow you to perform better. Amon pinched the single chip glasses, explained, I have reviewed a lot of information and they have verified my conjecture to a certain extent. The soul skills obtained by a soul master when hunting soul beasts are not completely random, but imply certain rules. I guess there are 3 factors that affect the effect of the final soul skill. The first is the characteristics of martial souls. Soul skills are attached to martial souls. The same soul ring attached to different martial souls will produce different soul skills. The second is a type of soul beast, which goes without saying much. The third point is a soul master's personal wish, and the third point is my speculation, but the possibility is very high. When the characteristics of the soul weapon, the type of soul beast, and the soul master's own personal wishes all match, there is a very high probability that the soul skill finally obtained will be consistent with the soul master's expectations. Yan Jin listened for a long time and finally shook his head in confusion. I don't quite understand. Amon had no choice but to continue explaining. For example, a certain soul master's martial soul is a sword. He expected to obtain a soul skill to make his sword sharper, and then he hunted a sword fighting beast. Well, it's a spirit beast that looks like a baboon, has metal blades on its arms, and has powerful melee capabilities. The soul master longs for sharpness. The sword spirit can carry sharpness, and the arms of the sword fighting beast also have the characteristic of sharpness. The 3 element converge. In the end, the soul skill obtained by the soul master will most likely have the sharp effect he expected. Yan Jin's little face was full of earnestness and solemnity, and she nodded from time to time to show that she was listening attentively. Amon pointed to the slime picture in the book and said, your martial soul is magma, and you can inject soul power to create a large amount of magma, which has extremely strong destructive power, but you can't freely control the magma you create. You can only let it spread. No matter how powerful the destructive power is, it won't hit anyone. So, you need a soul skill that allows you to control the shape of magma. You can accurately control the martial soul and change the flow direction and shape of the magma according to your own will. It may not be as effective as a powerful attack skill in the short term, but in the long run, this will last you a lifetime. You have to know that low-level attack skills are often useless in the battles of high-level soul masters. Powerful soul masters rarely use the soul skills they acquired when they were weak in combat, because these skills have already been. If you can't keep up with them, you will fall behind. In the future, you may become a contra or even a titled Douluo, but form control will never be eliminated. Slime is a kind of soul beast with fluid characteristics. They are liquid and can freely control their shape, which meets your needs. You need to control the form. Magma is fluid and can be controlled into form. Slime can control form independently. The three factors are consistent, so slime is a good choice for you. In addition, there is a very important point. Although Ma Wen promised to provide us with help, this help is limited. She will not spend too many resources on this. We cannot ask her to help us find a rare soul beast that matches the year you absorbed your first soul ring. Yan Jin nodded seriously. I completely understand. In short, I have to hunt down the slime, and when absorbing the soul ring, I have the idea of obtaining its ability to control the form. Right, that's right, but isn't the slime a water attributed soul beast? Will it conflict with the magma? That's the problem. You need a mutated fire attributed slime. Slime is a very common low-level soul beast. Precisely because of their weakness, mutation is a very common phenomenon in their group. If a slime group can't find a few slimes of other attributes, that's abnormal. Amon closed the book and put it back on the shelf. It takes time to find soul beasts. Please wait patiently. I will negotiate with Ma Wen and ask her to send someone to find a fire attributed slime that meets our needs. Yan Jin nodded. Although he wanted to hunt the soul beast immediately to get the soul ring, he also knew that he couldn't rush this matter. He needed to do a lot of preparation. Hunting soul beasts is a dangerous thing. If you are not careful, you may lose your life. Ma Wen frowned after hearing Amon's request. Fire attribute slime. Are you sure you want to use this kind of rubbish soul beast? It is hard to find and can't get any powerful soul skills. I can send a soul master to help you hunt it, so you don't have to worry about the soul beast being too powerful to kill. I recommend Chocobo or Flame Frog. Amon shook his head. We have our own considerations. This is the result of careful consideration. Ma Wen pondered for a moment and nodded. You can control it yourself. I will send someone to find the target and notify you after determining the approximate location. Then I'll trouble you, Ms. Ma Wen. Amon bowed slightly. Chapter 12 Zilin Mountains. After half a month, Ma Wen finally received news. Yan Jin, get ready and leave tomorrow. Amon said, okay, I'm going to become a soul master soon. Yan Jin cheered excitedly. Lei Yin and the other children were also happy for her and gathered around her, chattering away. Eldest sister has become a soul master. Shouldn't we celebrate and have a good meal? Mori, a slightly fat girl, said, eat, eat, eat. You know how to eat. You have to save money for my eldest sister to go to school. Lei Yin rubbed her head. Hey, when I get the soul ring and come back, we will go to the restaurant to have a big meal. Yan Jin waved his hand and said very proudly. Amon put down the book in his hand and said softly, it's best not to set up such a flag. It's very unlucky. Huh? Flag? She said this pronunciation awkwardly, with a look of confusion on her face. Before doing something dangerous, you make a promise to others and promise to do what you will do when you come back. Usually in this case, the person will not be able to come back. For example, before a soldier goes off to war, he tells his fiancée that he will come back when the war is over, married and then died on the battlefield. Amon shrugged. Although this is just a superstition, I think it's better to be cautious. There is a force driving the development of destiny. Why are you so angry all of a sudden? Yan Jin approached Amon and stared at him for a while. Amon slapped the book on Yan Jin's head and walked out of the room. You may not believe it. It depends on you. Yan Jin hugged the book, rubbed his head, and said, then let's go. Have a big meal today. Oh. Mori cheered. Frostleaf City is adjacent to the Zilin Mountains. It stretches for hundreds of kilometers, straddling the sky and the earth like a giant dragon, separating the provinces of Northland and Edfu. There are a large number of soul beasts living in the Zilin Mountains, which is the first choice for soul masters in Frostleaf City. To obtain soul rings, Amon and Yan Jin were waiting at the city gate for the people sent by Ma Wen to assist them. A man wearing brown leather armor, a black robe, and a black cloth covering his face quietly walked up to them. Are they you two brats? His voice was dry and hoarse, as if there was something blocking it in his throat. Yan Jin was startled, took a step back, and looked at the ghost-like man in front of her with uncertainty. She was very sure that she was not distracted. Being alert to her surroundings at all times was the secret to her survival until now point, but he suddenly appeared less than 2 steps in front of him. "Ah. You Ms. Ma Wens." "Yes, Glenn, a 30 level agility attack soul master." Glenn introduced himself according to the etiquette of meeting a soul master. Amon was stunned. This man was quite polite. This was also the first time someone greeted him according to the official soul master meeting etiquette. "Amon, a level 12 auxiliary soul master. If you're all ready, let's go." Walking on the vast frostleaf plain, the green grassland can be seen as far as the eye can see. The mountains in the distance are looming, and animals such as horses and elk gallop by from time to time. The summer in the north is very short. You have chosen a good time. If it is winter, you will have to brave half a meter of snow for a long journey, which is very dangerous. Glenn said, "It's just luck." Amon smiled. "Mr. Glenn, what kind of job are you doing under Ma Wen, killer?" Glenn said coldly, "For example, kill those who made her lose money." He glanced at the two of them, and the indifference in his eyes made Yan Jin shudder. As if she felt this was a bit embarrassing, she opened her eyes wide and stared back. Amon didn't care and said easily, "That's great. We won't be your target, hope." So, the 3 of them walked all day and finally came to a small market at the foot of the mountain. This is a campsite formed spontaneously due to the mountain goods trade, and the people coming and going are mainly merchants, hunters, and mercenaries. Amon discovered that the proportion of soul masters in the camp was not high, and many of them were ordinary people. Moreover, the goods on the street stalls were basically the furs of ordinary beasts, with only a few exuding soul power fluctuations. He couldn't help but ask, "How dare you go into the mountains to hunt without being a soul master?" There are fewer soul beasts in the outer areas. Most of them are 10-year-old soul beasts. Even ordinary people can deal with them. Glenn replied, "After all, there are only a few soul masters in this world. Want to take a ride? Does anyone want to take a ride?" The carriage back to Frostleaf City only costs 1 Jinta coin. In the distance, someone was shouting, "Perhaps we should come here by carriage. This can save a lot of time and effort." Amon said while holding the lens. Glenn's steps stagnated. He was only thinking about how to leave a strong and cold impression on these 2 brats, and forgot about this after a moment of silence. He said calmly, "I have said that I'm a killer under Lord Ma Wen, and it is necessary for me to keep my whereabouts secret." At this moment, a rugged man walked by and greeted enthusiastically, "Isn't this Glenn? I heard that you are going to take 2 little ghosts to hunt slimes. Is that them? We just happened to enter. Do you want to go hunting in the mountains?" Yan Jin murmured in a low voice, "Didn't you say that you want to keep your whereabouts secret? Why do I feel like everyone knows it?" Glenn's forehead twitched and he refused. "No, I'm not used to acting with too many people." Then, he looked at Yan Jin and said, "The man just now is called Collier. He is one of the suppliers of our Ice Thorn Chamber of Commerce, and has some strength. In order to help you find the slime with fire attribute, Lord Ma Wen issued a reward for information a while ago. It is not surprising that he knows it. We will rest here for 1 night today, and go into the mountains to hunt soul rings tomorrow, so as not to let those slimes run to other places or die in accidents after a long time. If everything goes well, it can be done in 1 day." Amon nodded. "Listen to you, Glenn." Stopped in front of a shop and rented 2 tents. He took Amon to the edge of the camp and started to set up point, while Glenn hammered the ground nails into the soil with a hammer. He reminded, "Don't sleep too deeply at night. It's not just wild animals that can bring danger, but also people. Although the most basic order is generally maintained in the camp and no one will act arbitrarily, this is not absolute. I never lose my vigilance." Amon said with a chuckle. Knowing that entering the Zilin Mountains was dangerous, how could he not make any preparations? He came here with only his original body and 2 clones, and the other 2 clones were far away in Frostleaf City. Even if his original body died due to an accident, it would not affect his continued survival. He is Amon, and all the Amons together make him complete. After his original body died, his consciousness and personality would be transferred to any clone to form a new original body. But the price of death is a bit high. The original body is at least 10 levels higher than all other clones. If the original body's status is transferred, and the new original body's level is not enough, the soul power level of the other clones will also decrease accordingly. So Amon will not take risks with his original body casually. Chapter 30 Nice Wolf. Early the next morning, Amon opened his eyes in the tent. He felt his chest was heavy, as if something was pressing down on him. Looking at the drooling Yan Jin beside him, and her thigh restlessly pressing against him, the corner of his mouth twitched. He moved Yan Jin's legs away, and grabbed her cheeks, to wake her up. Yan Jin, who had just woken up, had a confused look on his face, and instinctively rubbed the corner of his mouth with the back of his hand. Have you eaten? I'm very doubtful. How did you survive in a place like West Street until now? Amon's cold voice made Yan Jin wake up. She smiled sheepishly. I was so excited yesterday that I fell asleep very late. Go and pack up the tent and get ready to go into the mountains. Okay. After Yan Jin left the tent, a translucent insect with 12 links and a starry sky-like color turned into a shimmer of light and entered Amon's body. This is one of his time worm clones, responsible for keeping vigil last night. After packing their things, the two tents were carried by Amon and Yan Jin respectively, and the three of them walked towards the mountain. Glenn explained the goal to the two of them. A certain mercenary group discovered a group of slimes by a lake on the top of a mountain. One of them was different. It was fiery red. I had gone to confirm it before. Yes, it is indeed a flame slime, but the year is unclear. Amon breathed in the fresh air with the fragrance of grass and trees in the mountains, nodded and said, the age characteristics of slimes are difficult to judge. Only by fighting can we make a rough estimate based on its attacks. As they walked, Glenn suddenly slowed down. Yan Jin turned her head and looked around, and she also felt an unusual smell. Amon kept the soul power flowing in his body, ready to materialize it into a shield to protect himself at any time. From the dense bushes, a figure suddenly jumped out and rushed towards Yan Jin, the smallest of the three. After Glenn glanced at it, he deliberately pretended not to see it. It was just an ordinary beast and nothing to worry about. He wanted to see what this genius who had high expectations from Marwen could do. Yan Jin was stunned for a moment, then decisively rolled to the side to avoid the attack. The attackers refused to give in and continued the pursuit. Hua! She shouted. A large ball of lava emerged from her hand. Heat waves overflowed, and the terrifying high temperature instantly melted through the attacker's head. This was a leopard. Half of its head was burned off, and it fell to the ground weakly. The body twitched twice and stopped. There was no splash of blood. The wound turned into char immediately. The blood was evaporated, and the air was filled with the aroma of barbecue. TSK, you scared me, a big cat. Yan Jin kicked the leopard's body nonchalantly. Glenn's eyes narrowed. The lethality she displayed was astonishing. Even if it was just an ordinary beast, it was not something that a person without a soul ring could easily deal with, but Yan Jin did it so neatly. Amon was also amazed that her fighting talent was better than he expected, and her ruthlessness in life and death fights far exceeded what she showed during sparring with him. Beautiful. Amon clapped his hands and exclaimed in admiration. The road ahead is not smooth, and there are always mosquitoes, poisonous snakes, and wild beasts that appear from time to time to attack. Yan Jin relied on her martial spirit to burn out all sources of danger that were close to her. Amon either used his soul power to form a shield or used the ground nails used to fix the tent to block them one by one. As for Glenn, there are basically no insects or snakes that regard him as a target. He is like a ghost, hiding in the trees looking at Yan Jin, who was panting due to mental stress and exhaustion of soul power. He turned back and said, aren't you all prepared before entering the jungle? This was my mistake, Amon said apologetically. He really had no experience in this area. It is very dangerous to run out of soul power in the Zilin Mountains. We are here to hunt soul beasts. According to your method, we will only become food for the soul beasts in the end. He handed a bag of white powder to Amon. When applied on the body, it will emit some unpleasant smells for insects and snakes, causing them to instinctively avoid you. Normally, more than this kind of insect repellent powder is needed. Due to the characteristics of my martial soul, I only prepared. You still have to be highly vigilant, but it's much easier than before. Thank you. Amon took the powder. He and Yan Jin sprinkled the powder on their bodies, and the effect was remarkable. The insects rarely came to harass them. After a difficult trek, Yan Jin's face showed visible fatigue. She gritted her teeth and did not fall behind. Take a rest, Glenn said at a rock wall. Yan Jin sat down on a rock and breathed softly. How far is it? We're only halfway there. At this speed, I'm afraid we won't be able to go back before dark, Glenn said coldly. Isn't this what we expected? Isn't it just to prepare for this kind of situation? Amon pointed to the tent on the ground. Glenn shrugged. I just want to remind you that the forest is more dangerous at night. AWW. A wolf howled. Several large wolves with snow white fur surrounded them, their green eyes full of violence and greed. Is this a dire wolf? Amon pinched his monocle. Dire wolves are spirit beasts that usually move in small families of 5 or 6. Yan Jin's face turned a little pale. She felt that the target of this group of wolves was her, and their greedy eyes never moved away. The wolves kept making threats and gradually narrowed the encirclement, hoping to make the prey lose their composure and attack the weakest among them. Amon said with a TSK and whispered, can you handle it? Just a group of idiots who are less than 100 years old. Glenn snorted disdainfully, and he burst out with the momentum of a soul master. His soul power was surging, and the black robe behind him rustled. If they had wisdom, they would have run away now. Glenn's sudden burst of soul power made the wolves hesitate, but they still did not give up. With the roar of the leader wolf, the wolves tacitly launched attacks from different directions. They had a clear division of labor. 3 of them besieged Glenn, 2 of them restrained Amon, and the other 2 pounced on Yan Jin. The last 2 were the real key points. The rest were just feints. They only intended to hunt her from the beginning. Amon stretched out his right index finger and thumb, and with 2 muffled bangs, the air bullets pierced the eyes of the 2 wolves and exploded in their heads. They fell down before they even had time to scream. Yan Jin did not retreat but advanced, summoned his martial spirit, instantly pierced the chest of a dire wolf, and then kicked the other one in the head, using the reaction force to pull away. She kicked hard with her right foot, approached the still alive one, and in the horrified eyes of the dire wolf, she fiercely stuffed a large ball of magma into its mouth. Glenn's head grew a pair of cat ears. Layers of shadows surged on his body, and the second soul skill lit up. He suddenly accelerated and rushed out like a sharp sword. The palm with claws cut the throat of a wolf, and a long tail whipped another one away. The last wolf king turned his body urgently and ran away without looking back. The wolf that was whipped by Glenn's tail whimpered and followed him away. Amon noticed that Glenn was silent even when fighting, and his presence was extremely weak. If he hadn't been paying attention to him the whole time, he would probably have ignored him. Combined with the characteristics of his martial soul when possessing a body, it was determined that his martial soul was a shadow leopard, a raiding soul beast that would use shadows to hide itself when hunting. Glenn didn't chase him. Protecting the good people was more important. He was about to turn around to rescue Yan Jin, but saw the bodies of 4 wolves lying on the ground, and suddenly found embarrassed that he had the least kills. The combat power of these 2 little ghosts is a bit outrageous. No wonder Lord Marwen is willing to invest, he muttered in his heart. Assessing the potential of Amon and Yan Jin is also one of his tasks on this trip. According to his original estimate, Yan Jin could hold on for a while under the mouths of 2 dire wolves, but he didn't expect that it was the dire wolf that couldn't hold on. As for Amon, a real soul master, Glenn didn't think he would be defeated by the dire wolves, but it was also beyond his expectations that he could quickly and quietly get rid of them. He focused on his opponent and Yan Jin, so he didn't see how Amon made his move. After a long silence, he said awkwardly, this is not our target. There is no need to kill it. Soul beasts are treasures given to humans by nature. If it is not necessary, they cannot be killed at will. The smell of blood will attract other soul beasts, so the 3 did not stay here for too long, and found a new place to rest. Chapter 14 Flame Slime. After the wolf pack, Amon and his companions were attacked by soul beasts again, and were forced to extend their rest time. When they arrived at their destination, it was already evening. The sun was setting in the west, and the last light of the day shone on the clouds, revealing a golden and red color. The sky away from the sun gradually changed from light blue to dark blue, becoming deep and ethereal. The lake on the top of the mountain was very calm. Looking from a high place, the lake seemed very deep. Under the wide water surface, there seemed to be a huge shadow lurking, which could seduce people's fear of the unknown. Wow. So beautiful. Yan Jin stood on a stone, looking at the scene in front of him, with a genuine smile on his face, carrying the pressure of a family's life. Her heartstrings were always tense. It was rare for her to relax. At this moment, she felt that her body and mind had been purified. Glenn looked at the junction of the lake and the land, and he saw a few small black dots moving slowly in the distance. Found it, over there, looking in the direction of his finger. Amon saw the slime tribe not far behind the slime group. An orange light spot followed not far away. That was their target of this trip, the flame slime point. Because the flame slime has different properties from other slimes, it is excluded and isolated. It can only live on the periphery of the tribe and looks lonely. It feels so pitiful. Yan Jin's tone was a little gentle. After a pause, she continued, so let's help it get rid of it. Glenn, who was about to advise her that it was not a good thing to be overly compassionate, swallowed his words back. You have no compassion at all. TSK. This is just convenient for us to hunt. The approach of the three people aroused the vigilance of the slime group, and they jumped back. After realizing that their target was an alien in the tribe, they did not choose to help, but accelerated their escape, leaving only the flame slime surrounded in the middle. It suddenly swelled up, from the original size of a basketball to as huge as a water tank, making a grunting sound like a boiling kettle. The color also changed from the original orange-yellow to fiery red, and a group of flames appeared on the top of the body. It opened its mouth and sprayed out a huge column of fire. Yan Jin dodged it in a somewhat embarrassed manner. Amon looked at the attack range of the fire column, his eyes slightly condensed. The age of the slime cannot be judged by physical manifestations, but it can be judged by the killing distance of the water column they spray. The distance of 10 to 100 years is 5 to 10 meters, 100 to 500 years is 10 to 15 meters, and 500 to 1000 years is 15 to 30 meters. This is the age judgment standard of ordinary slimes. This is just a flame mutant, and Amon cannot be sure whether it adapts to this rule. He thinks the probability is consistent. Slimes often mutate only in attributes. The fire column just now sprayed more than 20 meters. According to the above rules, it is close to 1,000-year soul beast. This obviously far exceeds the absorption limit of Yan Jin's first soul ring. Amon came to Yan Jin and put his hand on her shoulder. A time worm quietly merged into Yan Jin's body. This. Yan Jin realized that a foreign object had suddenly merged into her martial soul and was about to expel it when Amon's voice sounded in her mind. Don't resist. This is my martial soul, Amon. She was about to turn her head. Don't look back. Don't show any strangeness. Amon stopped her. I'm communicating with you through the martial soul now. You just need to silently recite what you want to say in your heart. Listen carefully to me. The age of this slime has exceeded your limit. It is probably 800 or 900 years old. Under normal circumstances, the second soul ring of a soul master cannot absorb such a high age, but I have a way for you to absorb it. But I haven't tried it before. There is a certain failure rate. Think about it yourself. Do you want to gamble? Yan Jin was very surprised. She had never heard of anyone who could help others absorb a high-year soul ring before. Even the people in the tavern would not brag like this. Well, they would only brag more outrageously, such as the innate soul power of level 20, such as the soul ring personally bestowed by the gods. What method? She asked curiously. Amon's voice rang in her heart. My martial soul can be integrated into his body or martial soul without resistance. Soul masters cannot absorb soul rings that are too old because their bodies cannot withstand such a huge amount of energy. My martial soul can help you share some of the energy, but there is a certain limit, and it cannot exceed too much. I don't know where this limit is. Integrate into the body or martial soul is actually the use of the parasitic ability of the time worm, but because it is still too weak now, parasitism must obtain the consent of the other party, otherwise it will be easily expelled. When Amon made the suggestion, he did not choose to conceal it, and told Yan Jin the unfavorable conditions in detail, which could subtly make her trust herself more. He was not worried that Yan Jin would choose not to gamble, and the reality would not allow her to retreat. After a little thought, Yan Jin agreed. Okay, let's do it. This is a matter of life and death. Don't think about it anymore. Amon's mouth curled up slightly, which was within his expectations. Since you said that, you must be certain. I can only choose to gamble. Ms. Marwen will obviously not continue to spend manpower and resources to help me find a second fire slime. It is too difficult to find a completely suitable one. I don't have a second chance. Yan Jin said firmly. A very wise judgment. Amon smiled. Glenn dodged another attack from the slime and commented with a relaxed expression. Although the attack range is quite large and the damage of the flame is not bad, the speed is too slow and the characteristics of releasing the attack are too obvious. A trained ordinary person can easily dodge it. He showed his martial soul, Shadow Leopard, possession, the dark martial soul, which was shrouded in shadows and could only see the general outline, turned into a phantom and merged with Glenn. A pair of cat ears appeared on his head and long and sharp claws grew on the front of his 10 fingers. The second soul ring lit up and Glenn's speed doubled and he quickly rushed to the front of the slime. The flame slime was startled and tried to retreat in panic, but its speed of movement was so impressive that it had dozens of wounds on its body before it landed. Like a deflated balloon, flames kept coming out of its wounds. It suddenly became very weak and its body slowly shrank. Hey, don't be stunned. Do you want this soul ring? If you don't do it quickly, it will die. Glenn reminded. Yes, yes, yes. Yan Jin rushed over and summoned his martial soul to smash into its body. The flame slime shrank with a puff, leaving a pile of orange-yellow warm liquid on the spot. Faint yellow light spots began to condense above the slime's body, forming a bright yellow soul ring. Even if Yan Jin didn't touch it, he could feel the huge energy it contained and couldn't help but doubt whether he could absorb it. She hesitated for a moment, gritted her teeth, slowly raised her right hand and gathered her soul power into her palm. Along with the red light, a ball of slowly flowing lava gushed out from her palm, emitting a hot breath. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, Soul Ring Beyond Age Limits. Pulled by the red light, the slime soul ring slowly flew towards the direction of Yan Jin. She sat cross-legged on the ground and focused on the martial spirit in her right hand. As the spirit ring approached, she felt an unprecedented pressure, as if she was underwater dozens of meters deep, and her body was a little overwhelmed. Amon's 2 clones in her body also felt this pressure. After the yellow soul ring reached Yan Jin's head, it suddenly accelerated, shrunk to the size of a bracelet, and was directly attached to the magma spirit. Yan Jin only felt a huge amount of energy pouring in from his right hand. Like a raging river, washing every part of his body. She began to tremble all over, and she couldn't help but moan as the pain felt like it was being torn apart. Thanks to the help of the Worm of Time, although he felt severe pain and his whole body was filled with uncontrollable energy, it was always just at the critical point that Rock Ember could bear. After the initial pain, the energy was gradually absorbed by the body, and the frown on Yan Jin's face gradually relaxed. She felt warm all over, as if she were basking in the sun on a warm summer day. After absorbing it, she opened the rock embers with a delighted smile on her face. Amon, I succeeded. Thank you. When she succeeded, the 2 time clones that helped her share energy were also upgraded from the original half level to 1 level. This made Amon feel that he seemed to have discovered a shortcut to improve his soul power, but he quickly put this thought aside. Helping others increase their absorption years should not be exposed. The risk is too high, and it will attract countless covetous people. He nodded to Yan Jin and said to Glenn beside him, thank you for your help. Also, express our gratitude to Ms. Marwen on our behalf. Glenn shrugged. It's just a mission, but I was really lucky. I thought I would have to kill a few more flame slimes to find one of the right year. Kill? How many more? Yan Jin was a little confused. Oh, this slime group is very big. What we saw just now is only a small part. When I came to confirm the authenticity of the information, I found that there were several flame slimes in it, and there were even rarer thunder attributes. Slime, Yan Jin and Amon looked at each other, looking at each other. Although the final result was good, Yan Jin felt a little depressed in her joy. When she absorbed the soul ring just now, she really thought she was going to die. Now that she thinks about it, she is still a little scared. If she had known that there were several targets to choose from, she would never have rashly absorbed so many that exceeded her years. Show your martial soul and let me see your soul skills. This is Master Ma Wen's request. I need to return my life to her after I go back. Glenn's cold voice rarely contained a hint of gentleness. Yan Jin smiled and stretched out his right hand. The martial soul appeared, and a bright yellow soul ring exuded a halo on the martial soul point. Even if Glenn didn't say it, she still couldn't wait to show it off. More and more magma was seen, and then it climbed up her arms, forming a pair of thick gloves. Hey, my martial soul is magma, and its size is actually not fixed. It is related to the input soul power. The more input, the more magma will appear. Before, when the magma exceeded the size of my fist, the magma would drip out without my control. Now I can freely control its form. The essence of this soul skill is to enhance my control over the martial soul. It consumes very little. I call it martial soul condensation, Yan Jin explained with a smile. Amon sensed her soul ring through the worm of time. Because the worm of time took away part of the energy, the quality of the soul ring has declined. Probably around 700 years. Yan Jin, a level 14 attack type battle soul master. She suddenly looked solemn and introduced herself seriously. Level 14. Glenn's breath froze. A 7-year-old 14th level soul master. Is this the world of genius? He used to think that it was not a wise decision for Ma Wen to invest so much money for 2 brats. But now it seems that he is short-sighted. Amon, let's have a fight. The improvement of soul power, the acquisition of soul skills, and the increase in physical fitness brought about by the upgrade made Yan Jin's confidence soar. She looked at Amon with an arrogant expression. Amon still had a smile on his face. It's not suitable here. Let's talk about it when we get back. Oh. Yan Jin also realized that this was inappropriate, and his momentum suddenly weakened. They set up their tent in an open area and started returning early the next morning. The return trip was obviously much faster, and the journey was uneventful. When they returned to the campsite, they returned their tents and then took a carriage back to Frostleaf City. Although it only lasted 2 days, this journey made Yan Jin feel like he was in another world. Now, she is also a distinguished soul master, and she can go to the Wuhan Palace to receive a gold soul coin as a living allowance every month. She happily walked towards the Wuhan branch hall. The Wuhan branch hall is a huge domed building. The hall is white, and a sword is carved on the front door. It is not magnificent, but it gives people a majestic feeling. The guards at the door were 2 young men in their 20s. They saw Yan Jin coming and said in surprise, "What are you doing here? This is Wuhan Palace, not a place for you to do business." "Yes, Xiaoqua Shui, you'd better take your gang of boys to the city gate to see if there are any suitable outsiders. The people who can come here are not suitable for you." The guards were obviously no stranger to her. "Hey, you two, stop slandering me. I've retired from the business. Today, I'm here to test my soul power level." Yan Jin put his hands on his hips and said proudly, "Testing? Soul power level? Could it be that?" A guard had a hint of disbelief on his face. "Yes, from today on, I'm also a noble soul master." She smiled happily. "Go to the reception hall on the 1st floor to find Lord Silver. He will give you a test." "Yeah." Yan Jin walked in, and she suddenly found a guard following her. "Why are you following me?" the guard said expressionlessly. "I'm worried that you'll get lost." In fact, he was worried that if Yan Jin was allowed to wander around, something might be missing in the spirit hall. Yan Jin also knew this and said "Hug" with some dissatisfaction. Arriving at the reception hall, before she could speak, Silver glanced at her and took the initiative to say, "You are here for the soul level test, right? Come with me. The hall master is waiting for you." Huh? Alas, Yan Jin's face was full of confusion. Under Silver's guidance, she came to the hall master's office in confusion. The hall master of the branch hall was a thin middle-aged man. He looked at Yan Jin and said, "Little friend, we meet again. Ah, you are Mizanglan." Yan Jin found this man with a weak presence in the corner of his memory. Mizanglan smiled. "It's impolite to call someone by their name like this." "Okay, I apologize, Yan." Jin knew that this person had a lot of say in whether she could get the monthly subsidy of 1 gold soul coin, so she decisively chose to follow her heart. You seem to have known that I was going to take the soul power level test. Of course, I have also paid attention to outstanding talents like you and Ms. Ma Wen's actions. Ms. Angelan replied, come on, inject your soul power and let me see what level you are now. Me. Zanglan casually placed the crystal ball on the table in front of her. Yan Jin placed his hand on the crystal ball, and as the soul power was injected, a layer of yellow light shone on the crystal ball. The light was not strong, but it was extremely clear. 14th level? Ms. Angelan looked at her in a bit of surprise, and the surprise on his face was difficult to conceal. Chapter 16 Amon, come and fight. What kind of soul beast did you get your soul ring from? Ms. Angelan asked doubtfully. Yan Jin didn't hide it. It's a slime. Slime. That kind of low level soul beast? Well, the year of the one I hunted was a bit high, slightly beyond the year that can be absorbed. I took the risk and gave it a try. I was very lucky and succeeded. Yan Jin hid Amon's help, and some secrets were not suitable to be exposed. Ms. Angelan pondered for a moment and said solemnly, are you willing to join the spirit hall? You don't have to leave Shuangai City. I will arrange for the spirit masters from the spirit hall to teach you. Yan Jin shook his head. Sorry, my current teacher is very good. That's such a pity. Ms. Angelan sighed. Okay, your advanced evaluation is over. From now on, you will be a glorious soul master in the Xiandao Empire. Go to Silver to get a badge. You can use the badge issued to you to come to Wuhan Hall to receive subsidies every month. Hearing that he could receive the money, Yan Jin smiled happily and said, thank you. After receiving the money and buying some snacks for her brothers and sisters on the street, she jumped back to her residence. Then, she walked to the door of Amon's room and shouted angrily, Amon, come and fight with me. Amon opened the door, walked out, pinched his monocle, chuckled and asked, are you sure? Hey, my soul power is already higher than yours. I will definitely beat you this time. Then, come. Seeing that she was determined not to give up until she reached her goal, Amon had no choice but to grant her wish. Yan Jin immediately summoned her martial soul and activated her soul skill. The lava flowed, covering her hands from the fingertips to her elbows, forming a pair of lava armors. Knowing that Amon could withstand the high temperature of magma, she had no intention of holding back. Hey, show your martial arts spirit. Amon had previously used his martial soul to help her absorb the soul ring. The integration and removal were done silently, so until now, Yan Jin had never really seen the appearance of his martial soul. Unnecessary. Ah, you looking down on me? Yan Jin said with a trace of anger on his face. Never underestimate your opponent. This is what you taught me. With that said, she rushed forward. Amon just straightened his thumb and index finger, making a gun-raising gesture. Boom. An air bullet exploded in Yan Jin's abdomen, and she felt as if she had been punched hard by someone, causing a cramping pain. Amon controlled the power of air bullets, otherwise the damage would be more than that. Of course, low damage means faster attack speed and higher attack frequency. Knowing that Yan Jin's physique had improved a lot after becoming a soul master, he didn't have too much scruples and shot air bullets at less vital parts of her body 1 by 1. Even if he had seen Amon's move before, even if he was prepared to deal with it in advance, it was only when he was actually targeted that Yan Jin realized how terrifying this self-created soul technique was. The soul power has small fluctuations, is fast, and is silent. Even if you are mentally prepared, you still can't avoid it. Yan Jin covered his whole body with magma, forming a pair of armor, and then gained a brief respite. However, she soon discovered that the power of the air bullet had become much stronger. Magma is a fluid. It only has the ability to buffer and weaken, and is not as tough as real armor. An air bullet can open a large hole in the lava armor, and the attack that follows hits the body one after another. The scene does not seem to have changed much from the beginning point. After receiving a severe beating, Yan Jin finally shouted and begged for mercy. Stop, 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 stop fighting. I give up. Amon did not stop immediately. You can start a fight at will, but you may not be able to decide when it will end. I don't object to your willful behavior, as long as you can bear the consequences. Yan Jin held his head and squatted in defense. After a minute, Amon finally stopped attacking. HMPH. You win this time. I will definitely win it back next time. Yan Jin, who had a bruised nose and swollen face, although his bones were almost falling apart from the beating, his mouth was still hard. Your soul skills are so easy to use. I haven't seen your martial arts yet. What is it? She asked with curiosity on her face. Amon smiled and said kindly, don't explore other people's secrets, TSK. If you don't say it, don't say it. Hiss. Yan Jin pulled at the wound on his body and took a breath. In the magnificent hall of Icethorn Manor, Ma Wen sat on a beautifully crafted chair, holding a glass of red wine. How's the situation? Do you think they deserve my continued support? Glenn recalled the performance of Yan Jin and Amon, nodded and said, I think the current support may not be enough. If possible, we should continue to enhance our relationship with them. Ma Wen was slightly surprised. She knew that Glenn was a proud person, and few people could get such praise from him. That guy Yan Jin is a real genius. She is already level 14, and her combat power is also very strong. She can kill 2 dire wolves instantly before she gets the soul ring. Now, most great soul masters may not be able to match her. Glenn's voice was cold, but what he said was shocking. What? Ma Wen lost her composure. I remember she was only 7 years old, right? Suppressing the surprise in her heart, she asked again, what about Amon? Amon, I can't see through it. Glenn thought for a moment and answered hesitantly. He always maintained a calm and unhurried attitude. I didn't even see him show his martial arts spirit along the way. Of course, this is also related to the fact that I focus more on Yan Jin. I know. Ma Wen placed the wine glass on the small table aside, tapped the table with her fingers, and fell into deep thought. After a long time, she opened her eyes and whispered, ask the people who went to monitor them to come back and send them the title deed of the house. In addition, tell them that if they still need to hunt for soul rings, I can invest more manpower to help find soul rings next time. Beast. Another person next to Ma Wen couldn't help but ask, Master Ma Wen, is it really necessary to show kindness to them like this? But for 2 children, the road of a soul master is never smooth sailing. Maybe one day it will be halfway. Died young. Ah, idiot. Glenn glanced at him sideways and mocked, Vasif, has your head become like your martial spirit? You can reach level 14 at the age of 7. Wait 5 years for her to what level do you think you will be after graduating from the Junior Soul Master Academy? Coupled with that terrifying Magna spirit, will you still be her opponent at that time? A spirit master with strength comparable to the spirit master will be regarded as a guest in any force in Frostleaf City. Give it a little more time. She will become a big person we can only look up to. Vasif's martial spirit is a wild bull-like spirit beast, and he and Glenn have never dealt with it. Who are you talking about? Wasif said angrily. You even despise your own martial spirit? Glenn said in a sinister tone. Wasif wanted to say something else, but he heard Ma Wen say coldly, that's enough. Don't question my decision. Chapter 17 Battle. Ever since Yan Jin obtained the soul ring, the Bingfeng Junior Soul Master Academy had exploded. She was eager to reaffirm her position in the food chain and could fight 2 or 3 times a day. Some senior students who had already obtained soul rings and whom she had not dared challenge before all became her targets after she defeated more than a dozen people. Usman, who was recognized as the strongest among the 6th graders, finally accepted the challenge under the persuasion of others. The duel between the 2 of them was scheduled for one day after school, in the woods behind the college. There were many witnesses, ranging from grades 1 to 6. Most of the 6th graders stood behind Usman and were his supporters. This time he came to represent the 6th grade. If all the 1st graders were defeated, they would really become the worst class. There were quite a few people from the 1st to 5th grade standing behind Yan Jin, and they were all defeated by her combat as a standard for testing soul masters. Although it is not the only standard, under the influence of Mu Kiang's psychology, they recognize the status of Yan Jin's eldest sister Usman as a handsome young man with brown hair and blue eyes, but the shape of his pupils is a bit weird. They are vertical pupils like some reptiles. I didn't want to fight you. This kind of fight is meaningless, but you really went too far. Usman said coldly. You, a first year student, are completely crushing our faces into the ground by doing this. Yan Jin raised his eyebrows. The strong are respected, and the weak are humbled. This is the general principle among soul masters and the general principle in this world. We are all soul masters, and we can't avoid fighting with each other. Isn't it natural to test the results of our practice through fighting? Bear. A flame burned on her fist and quickly extinguished. Magma seeped out of her skin like water stains on the wall and enveloped her palm. After these days of fighting, she has become more and more proficient in the first soul skill and can already control the martial soul very well. Yan Jin found that covering his hands with a layer of magma of moderate thickness was the most cost-effective way to fight. It could not only unleash the lethality of the magma spirit, but also reduce the consumption of spirit power. The more she fought and understood, the more grateful she became to Amon. The soul ring that the other party chose for her was a perfect match for her martial soul. Yan Jin, a level 14 attack type battle soul master. Usman, a level 15 attack type battle soul master. Usman looked solemnly at the high temperature lava in the opponent's hand and shouted, "Martial spirit, possession." A dark green lizard shadow appeared behind Usman and merged with it. Dark green fine scales grew on his skin. His hands turned into claws and his tailbone extended, turning into a thick tail when filled with soul power. The 15th level soul power surged and the air was filled with an invisible sense of oppression. Oh. Haha. Finally there is someone who can see through it. Yan Jin was not surprised but overjoyed. The previous ones were too weak, and he had to worry about whether he would kill someone if he punched with all his strength. Watch the move. She rushed forward and threw an ordinary straight punch. Usman also responded with ordinary straight punches, and he used soul power to strengthen the scales on his hands. Boom. After all, Yan Jin's strength was no match for Usman, who was possessed by the beast spirit, so he retreated several steps before he could regain his balance. Usman glanced at the scales on his fist that were mostly burned, and his heart sank. It only took a moment of contact to cause such an effect. If it lasted for a while longer, his hand would probably be useless. Hey, not bad. Yan Jin's hands were covered with thick lava, as if he was wearing a pair of thick gloves. Usman's soul ring suddenly lit up. He opened his mouth wide and sprayed a green ray from his half-lizard mouth. Yan Jin's expression changed, and she stretched out her hand to create a large amount of magma in front of her, forming a quick shield. At the same time, she took a side step and drew a side point. The beam stagnated slightly before penetrating the shield. Pure attack soul skills have such advantages. In battles of the same level, they are almost invincible. The moment the shield bought was enough for Yan Jin to dodge the attack, and she immediately counterattacked. Lava bombs. That being said, it's actually just a matter of making the magma the size of a baseball, then waving your arms hard and throwing it out. In Amon's imagination, this should have been a scene simulating a volcanic eruption, where the magma was shot out like bullets due to the explosion of soul power. However, Yan Jin did not have such detailed control and could not do this. She opportunistically used the power of waving her arms instead. This naturally has no offensive power, but it can form effective interference. Usman moved his arms in front of him to block the ball flying towards his face. The magma spread out under the power of his arms, and some stars fell on him, burning black marks on his scales. What a troublesome martial spirit. He frowned. Amon didn't know when he appeared in the crowd of onlookers. He pinched his monocle with a smile on his face. Teacher Amon, why are you here? A student recognized him and was a little nervous. Their behavior was suspected of gathering in a crowd to fight, which was expressly prohibited by the college. He was worried that Amon would be punished by the college after he reported it. Amon said gently, "Don't be nervous. I'm just a teaching assistant, not the dean. Moreover, I teach fighting skills." Some students still seriously discuss with their classmates after school and practice in actual combat. This kind of progressive attitude should not be felt by me. Are you happy, TSK? A 6th grade student sneered. Many senior students did not buy into Amon's idea. They were about the same age, and some of them even had higher spirit power than Amon, so they naturally looked down on this informal teacher. Amon did not care about their attitude at all. He just stared at the battle in the field. Amon saw that his spirit skills did not establish the victory, so he did not continue to use them. Although pure attack spirit skills were invincible, they consumed a lot of spirit power, and he could not use them many times. The battle entered close combat again. Yan Jin expanded the range of magma coverage, which forced Amon to invest more spirit power to enhance the defensive scales. Because of the characteristics of martial spirits, Amon needed to consume far more spirit power than Yan Jin to offset the impact of high temperature every time he came into contact. Otherwise he would be burned over a large area. The balance of the battle continued to tilt towards Yan Jin. Amon used his spirit skills again, trying to make a last-ditch effort, but was blocked by the large amount of magma created by Yan Jin. Finally, in reluctance, he was knocked to the ground by Yan Jin with a punch. "Oh, I won." Yan Jin raised her hands and waved them to signal her support as the 6th graders were silent. They were generally 5 years older than Yan Jin, and the 5-year gap resulted in such a result. Even Amon, who had the best talent and the strongest strength in the grade, lost. This was a little hard for them to accept. As expected, there are differences between people. Amon stood up with a bitter smile on his face. He had a lot of burns on his body, but they were not serious. Another girl with a healing spirit hurried over to help him heal. How is it? Yan Jin looked at Amon, and his face showed an eager expression again. Not bad. Amon stretched out his thumb and index finger, pointing at Yan Jin like a gun. This made the latter shudder, recalling the previous beating, and calmed down. Chapter 18 Sound of Thunder. Teacher. Yan Jin knocked on Amon's room. Amon, who was practicing soul power, opened his eyes and stopped meditating. Several clones in the room turned into streams of light and sank into his body. When he heard Yan Jin call him that, he knew that this little brat must have something to bother him. She was not so polite at ordinary times. She would knock on the door, bang bang bang. This was the result of her restraint after she entered Amon's room without permission and was punished. "What's the matter?" Amon pushed open the door and rubbed her head. Although Yan Jin was dissatisfied with his hair being messed up, he had to swallow his anger because he had to ask for help. "Teacher, will you hold a martial soul awakening ceremony?" "Well, do you want me to help your brothers and sisters awaken their martial souls?" "Yes, Yan and Emily are already 6 years old, and it's time for them to awaken their martial souls." Yan Jin nodded. "Why not go to the spirit hall?" Yan Jin said bitterly, "Because the time has passed. They help civilians awaken their spirits at a fixed time every year. If you miss it and want to awaken alone, there will be an extra charge, which is not low." Amon shrugged and nodded. "Okay, the academy has the instruments needed for awakening. I will borrow them tomorrow to help Yan and Emily perform the ceremony. Thank you." When mentioning the spirit awakening ceremony, Amon couldn't help but think of the famous awakening master Su Yunteo, and felt a little pity in his heart. If he helped me awaken, my spirit might be upgraded to a higher level and become a source castle or something. Amon doesn't know the awakening ceremony, but he can learn it. He found the corresponding book in the library that day and wrote down the steps of the ceremony one by one. It was not difficult. The next day, he borrowed the ritual instruments from the academy and prepared to help Yan and Emily awaken their spirits. Amon placed 6 black round stones in a hexagon on the ground and motioned Emily to stand in at. With anticipation and uneasiness, Mori stood cautiously in the center of the hexagon. With the infusion of the 6 soul powers, a layer of golden light was released from the stone, forming a light golden light shield that enveloped Mori. As she was enveloped by the light, Mori's expression became a little dull, and golden light spots floated out of the stone and entered her body. Her body suddenly began to tremble. "Stretch out your right hand." Amon's gentle voice sounded. Mori obediently stretched out her palm, and all the light spots began to gather. In an instant, a transparent crystal ball appeared in her palm. The golden light gradually converged, and Mori looked at the crystal ball in his hand, a little at a loss. "This is your martial soul. According to the classification, it is considered a weapon martial soul. The next step is the key. Let's test whether you have soul power. Only those who have detected soul power can practice as a soul master." Amon explained to her, seeing that she was still somewhat at a loss. Yan Jin reminded her, "Take it back with your mind. and when you want to use it in the future, you should also use your mind to call it out. MO. Lei tried for a long time before taking the crystal ball back. Amon handed the blue crystal for the test to her and motioned her to put her right hand on it. Lei put his slightly fat little hand on the test crystal ball, and after a moment, the crystal ball did not react. Yan Jin showed a disappointed look. Seeing her look, Lei felt uneasy, pursed his lips, and asked tremblingly, "Do I not have the qualifications of a soul master?" Amon nodded gently. The fact that the test crystal ball did not react did not mean that Lei had no soul power at all, but that it was too little, not even half a level, and could not be detected. This shows that her low talent is not suitable for the path of a soul master at all, and forced cultivation is just a waste of time. Looking at the lost Lei, Yan Jin felt a little uncomfortable, but did not know how to comfort her. Let her be alone for a while. You will only be counterproductive if you go. After all, you are a successful person, a genius who makes countless people feel inferior. Amon advised. Next, he began to help Lei Yin awaken. I saw silver light wandering in Lei Yin's palm, like a silver snake, and there was a faint sound of thunder, and lightning. Martial spirit. Amon's eyes lit up, and he had more expectations in his heart. When Lei Yin's right hand was placed on the test crystal, the crystal ball suddenly burst into a bright light. Amon judged that his innate soul power was level 7, based on the knowledge he had read in the book. Innate full soul power is very rare, and level 9 and 8 can be called genius. Level 7 is considered good. If the soul ring obtained after birth is good, there is also a glimmer of hope to achieve a title. Douluo. Amon looked at Lei Yin and then at Yan Jin, thinking that their village was a Feng Shui treasure land, and it was unexpected that two such talented people appeared at the same time. The children cheered, and Yan Jin laughed and patted Lei Yin on the shoulder. "Ha, not bad. We will be classmates in the future. Call me senior sister." The yard was noisy. Only Lei stood aside, looking at Lei Yin, feeling a little disappointed. Lei Yin showed a look of joy. He thought for a while and said to Yan Jin, "Sister, can I not go to school? I still need to look after the family. It's too hard for Lei alone. I can practice soul power at home." "What nonsense are you talking about? How can you not go to school?" Yan Jin frowned, showing the majesty of an elder sister. Amon pinched his monocle, his eyes flickered slightly, and said, "It's okay if he doesn't go. I can teach him the basic common sense that soul masters need to know. That's fine." Yan Jin nodded. She recognized Amon's level very much. After all, he was the only one whose soul power was lower than hers, and could still make her feel embarrassed. In addition, in her mind, Amon was also very knowledgeable, and had unique insights into martial spirits. Although his soul power was inferior, he was better than the teachers in the academy in many aspects. Speaking of school, Yan Jin, how much knowledge have you learned in school? Amon asked suddenly. This. Yan Jin hesitated, and began to dodge her eyes. Her practical ability was the best in the academy, and her theoretical level was the lowest in the grade. "What do you think Lei Yin needs to do most now?" Amon asked with a bit of testing meaning. Yan Jin lowered his head and thought for a moment, then clenched his right fist and lightly hit the palm of his left hand, and answered seriously, "I know this. He needs to hunt a slime. Soul rings only need to be hunted when his soul power reaches level 10. What he should do now is to exercise his soul power control level." Yes, that's what I mean. Yan Jin personally experienced the benefits of control to himself. She held her chin with her right hand, and suddenly said to Amon, "Should we go to Marwen again, and ask her to invest in Lei Yin as well?" Amon thought for a moment and shook his head. "Not for now. Let's wait and see." Chapter 19 Farewell. A fulfilling life will make people forget the passage of time inadvertently. 5 years have passed, and the time of parting is coming. Yan Jin has grown from a tomboy to a little Lalita with some grace. Her soul power has increased to level 28, and the second soul ring was absorbed beyond the limit with the help of Amon. The soul ring comes from a 1,500-year-old slime, but because the time worm shares the energy, the quality of her soul ring has dropped to about 950 years. Lei Yin stood beside her, his dark blue hair swaying slightly. This boy who looks a little delicate is already a great soul master of level 22. His 2 soul rings also come from slimes. The only difference is that he hunts slimes with thunder attributes, and they have not exceeded the age limit. The source of Yan Jin and Lei Yin's soul rings is not a secret among the soul masters of Frostleaf City. Both of them have shown extremely powerful combat effectiveness. It is for this reason that the slimes living in the Zilin Mountain suffered, and more soul masters took this kind of soul beast that is easy to hunt and not difficult to find as the target of soul rings, until it was discovered that the soul skills of most people did not meet expectations. This wave gradually subsided. 5 years have made Amon from the original half-grown boy into a handsome young man. He is 17 years old. Shi Guanteo looked at the 3 people in front of him with a complicated expression. It's been 5 years. I've watched you get to where you are now. Amon, I once promised you that if you reach level 20 before the age of 18, I would write a letter to recommend you to the Northern Advanced Soul Master Academy. You are better than I thought. With your current conditions, I'm afraid no Advanced Soul Master Academy will reject you without any recommendation letter. Amon smiled slightly. Your recommendation letter is also an indispensable condition. It can save me a lot of effort. Shi Guanteo did not comment. He said to Yan Jin, Yan Jin, you have a good talent. I have never seen a child with such talent as you. You have to work hard and don't let this talent down. I hope that our Frostleaf City, this remote land, can also produce a world-famous strongman. However, you have to change your irritable personality and learn more from your mentor Amon. Yan Jin scratched his head and laughed. She also took good care of them, so she could listen to him patiently. If someone else came, she would have interrupted him with a sentence, stop talking nonsense. Finally, he looked at Lei Yin again. Although your talent is not as good as your sister, you are also a Douluo. I hope you can work hard. Lei Yin smiled shyly and said politely, thank you for your encouragement and thank you for your care over the years. I will work hard. He joined the academy at the age of 9 and skipped to the same grade as Yan Jin. Amon took the recommendation letter and the outstanding graduation certificate of the 3 of them from the Icewind Junior Soul Master Academy from Shi Guanteo, took off his hat, and bowed slightly. Then, we say goodbye here. Thank you for your care. Let's go. Shi Guanteo waved his hand with a relieved smile on his face. He stood at the entrance of the academy, watching the backs of the 3 people going away, and was speechless for a long time. Lu Wenkang walked up to him and whispered, worry about them? There's no need. They are already famous and powerful in Frostleaf City. I heard that Yan Jin had dealt with a soul master named Wasev under Ma Wen not long ago. Shi Guanteo shook his head. Frostleaf City is just a small place. When they get to a big city, their strength is not enough. They are still young. Lu Wenkang said with a smile. Yes, they are still young. Arriving at the city gate, Ma Wen, Glenn, Wasev, Mori and others had been waiting for a long time. They came here to see them off. Miss Ma Wen, I didn't expect you to come here in person. Amon pinched his monocle and whispered. Ma Wen showed a kind smile, which was a very surprising scene in the eyes of others. It was hard for them to imagine that the Shadow Queen of Frostleaf City would smile so kindly. Your potential is worthy of everyone's careful treatment. As a partner, I must come to see you off. We have had a very pleasant cooperation over the past 5 years, and I hope our friendship can continue. Ma Wen was so friendly because of the potential of Amon and others, and the advertising effect brought by Yan Jin over the years also made her a lot of money. Yan Jin's reputation is not only spread in the academy. After she became a great soul master, she defeated a soul master and became a new rising power in Shuangai City. As a supernova with unlimited potential, she is naturally admired and imitated by others. The clothing styles endorsed by her are quite popular among the young soul masters in Shuangai City. Ma Wen also made a small profit from this. Her investment in Amon and others has paid off and even made a slight surplus. Of course, your support is also a crucial part of our smooth progress to the present. If you didn't help us when we needed soul rings, we wouldn't have achieved what we have today. Amon nodded slightly. Ma Wen's smile became even brighter. Don't worry, I will take good care of those 7 little guys. Amon looked at Glenn standing beside Ma Wen, who just said lightly, goodbye, take care. Wasifu, on the other side, was a little uncomfortable. He had provoked Yan Jin before and was beaten up. Then he went to find trouble with Lei Yin again, but he still failed to win. As for Amon, he was a little scared when he saw him. He always felt that this man with a monocle and a smile all day long was extremely dangerous. Yan Jin and Lei Yin were saying goodbye to Mori and others. Mori, you will be the eldest in the family from now on. You must take good care of your brothers and sisters. If you have any problems, go to Ms. Ma Wen. She will help you. If you really can't solve it, write to us. Lei Yin told Mori. Except for Yan Jin and Lei Yin, the other 7 people did not have the talent of soul masters. Don't worry. Mori nodded. Brother Lei Yin, you have to keep an eye on sister Yan Jin. She is more likely to cause trouble. I will. Lei Yin said seriously. He deeply understood this. Most of their reputation in Frostleaf City was earned by Yan Jin fighting with others, but this is also an odd tradition. It's not a big deal. Often they fought fiercely the day before, and the next day they were arm in arm and called brothers. What? Do you mean I'm more likely to cause trouble? It's obvious that the trouble came to me. Yan Jin muttered in a low voice. Her behavior showed that she had no confidence in this. Otherwise she would have shouted loudly. Yan Jin gave Mori a few more instructions and then jumped on the hired carriage. Her eyes swept over Ma Wen, Glenn, and Wasev, lingered on Mori for a while, and glanced at the top of the city gate. She waved her arms and shouted, "Then we are leaving. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself too." The voice came from the city gate, from other graduates. Goodbye, everyone. On the road outside the city, a young man in patched and shabby clothes looked at the carriage going away, adjusted the monocle on his right eye, and slowly raised the corner of his mouth. Chapter 20. The Second Soul Ring and the Card Bug. Amon's original cultivation talent had long been restored to the level of innate full soul power. In addition, he handed over many chores to his clones and concentrated on meditation, so his soul power level increased quickly and was already level 30. His second soul ring came from a 2000-year-old false beast point. Since he could use the time worm clone to help Yan Jin share energy and absorb soul rings beyond the limit, he could naturally use the same method to absorb soul rings with higher years. Similarly, after the energy was divided, the age of the soul ring decreased to only about 1300 years. The false beast is not a low-level soul beast like the slime. They are cunning and dangerous. In order to hunt this false beast, the Ice Thorn Chamber of Commerce paid a great price. Even Glenn was injured and lay in bed for a week before recovering. The second soul skill was called Swindler by Amon. It can increase affinity and make others more likely to believe what you say. It is a hidden mental influence. This is a permanent effect that exists for a long time without activating soul skills. When it is launched actively, it can affect the thinking ability of the target within 50 meters around, making its thinking slow. The effect is related to the strength comparison between the target and the target. If the target's mental power is far greater than the target, then this effect will become extremely limited. The target of Amon's third soul ring is the eyeless snake, a soul beast with extremely strong perception. This kind of soul beast is not distributed in the Zilin Mountains, so he plans to join the Advanced Soul Master Academy first, and then go to the Sunset Forest to hunt. In addition to reaching level 30 in soul power, the number of half-soul time clones has also reached more than 150. The soul power level of these Amons is unified to level 20. Their soul rings do not need to be hunted and will automatically generate the same as the original body. When the level is reached, the cultivation talent of the time clone with only a half soul is equivalent to only half of the innate soul power. According to common sense, it is impossible to cultivate so fast, but Amon has a bug point. When he reached level 20, he tried to let the clone pull the soul ring produced by the soul beast he hunted. Theoretically, the time worm clone is also part of his martial soul and should be able to absorb soul rings. But the soul rings of the clones are automatically generated according to the original body, and they will not obtain new soul rings. The final result is that the clones did not obtain the corresponding soul skills, but absorbed the energy in the soul rings, and the soul power level increased rapidly. After Amon reached level 30, he went to the Zilin Mountains on purpose and hunted low-level soul beasts in the periphery. Using this bug, he raised the level of all clones to level 20. So boring. When can we get there? Yan Jin rubbed his buttocks. The shock absorption effect of the carriage was not good. It was a disaster. To sit for a long time. Be patient and wait. It's only been 3 days. BD City is hundreds of kilometers away from Shuangai City. We have to spend more than 10 days on the road. Lei Yan replied. Yan Jin sighed, lying motionless on the mat, like a corpse. I will be bored to death. Can you find a way to have some fun? If you are really bored, I have a suggestion. Amon pinched his monocle, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Tell me. So, Yan Jin and Lei Yan were driven off the carriage by Amon, and trotted behind the carriage, under the pretext of exercising, and the carriage finally returned to Silent Point. The coachman was a middle-aged man with a little white hair. He didn't want to do this kind of long-distance business, because it was too far and easy to encounter danger, but Amon gave him a price he couldn't refuse, 15 gold soul coins, which was more than he could earn in a normal year. In addition, the three were willing to follow his advice and take a long detour for safety, so he took the order. He looked back at the two people following the carriage and shook his head. He didn't quite understand their behavior of leaving the carriage alone and using their legs to travel. Damn, what a bullshit proposal. Yan Jin complained, while running. Lei Yan sighed. Sister, just say less. It's because you're too noisy that Mr. Amon is angry. Angry? I don't think so. That guy won't be angry at all. Yan Jin shrugged indifferently. Even if you put a knife on his neck, he can still talk to you gently. He just has a bad taste. Lei Yan thought that anyone who has a knife on their neck will be easy to talk to. Suddenly, the carriage stopped, and the horse pulling the carriage was a little panicked. A dozen masked men in black blocked the road, holding shiny knives in their hands. The driver looked at them in fear and couldn't help but regretted. I should not have been greedy for the money earlier. It's really not so easy to get. I'm afraid I will lose my life this time. The leader of the black-clad men stepped forward, put his knife on his shoulder, and said fiercely, "Stop the car. This place is my territory. If you want to go, leave something for me." He suddenly saw Yan Jin following him from behind. His eyes lit up. Wow, there's a little beauty. Hey. He praised me as a beauty. Yan Jin laughed very happily. No one has ever praised me like this before. Lei Yan stroked his forehead helplessly. Amon put his hand on the car window, then pushed hard, flipped from the car to the roof, pinched his monocle, sat on the edge of the roof, and prepared to watch the show. Give me all the beauties and valuables, hand over all the money. Yan Jin said faster than him. She put her hands on her hips, walked forward, and repeated to the somewhat stunned thief leader, "Hand over the money. Since you praised me as a beauty, I can let you go." Me. The thief leader pointed at himself with his index finger. "Hand over the money. What are you hesitating about?" Yan Jin has never been a patient person. Her fist glowed red, and the hot breath made the temperature around her eyes a few degrees. The air density suddenly changed due to the heating, and the scenery in front of her was a little distorted. The first soul ring lit up, and the yellow halo was not dazzling, but it was extremely condensed. Big fire. The huge fist condensed by lava came in an instant, engulfing the thief leader and the two unlucky guys behind him. Clothes, hair, skin, flesh, bones. The terrifying high temperature burned everything they had without leaving any slag. When Yan Jin took back his martial soul, the magma disappeared, and only the melted ground showed that the terrible scene just now was not an illusion. The driver was both happy and horrified, and there was a bit more awe in his eyes when he looked at Yan Jin. He originally thought that these three people were children from a wealthy family. Amon, who looked like the elder brother, might be a soul master, but he shouldn't be very strong. Unexpectedly, the most childish girl who chattered all the way could show such a side. Soul master. Although the remaining thieves were so scared that they couldn't hold their knives steadily, they still didn't run away. Amon noticed that they frequently cast their eyes on a small man in black at the edge, and he realized that this might be their real leader. He didn't rush to take action, but watched quietly, waiting for Yan Jin to deal with it. Chapter 21 Thieves. I hate robbers the most. Yan Jin said coldly. Amon suddenly remembered that she had said that their village was attacked by thieves, and only a few of them were killed. So, robbery, do you pay? The coachman's expression was a little strange. Isn't she doing the work of a robber now? although the target is also a robber. As if she noticed his strange expression, Yan Jin explained, I'm stealing for the heaven. Be careful. Thunder exploded, and Lei Yin's body was wrapped in lightning. He flashed to Yan Jin's side, and a long sword condensed by lightning appeared in his hand. His first soul ring is similar to Yan Jin's, both of which are martial soul condensation, which can change the shape of their own martial souls at will, and condense them into what they want. Lei Yin waved his long sword, and forced back the short black clothed man who sneaked up to Yan Jin and suddenly burst into a sneak attack. He. There are also famous soul masters. I underestimated you, the man in black said in a hoarse and low voice, but they are just two little kids. He showed his martial soul, a mouse with a lot of wrinkles on the skin, and no hair. The three soul rings of white, yellow, and purple complement each other, exuding a faint sense of oppression. Soul Master? Lei Yin frowned. In Frostleaf City, Soul Master is completely considered a master. I didn't expect that there would be a soul master hiding among a group of robbers I met on the road. It's not like I haven't beaten them before. Yan Jin said nonchalantly. The huge lava fist appeared again and smashed hard at the soul master who had been possessed by the martial soul and turned into a rat man. Amon gently pinched the monocle and activated his soul skills under the cover of the first soul ring, the martial soul ring, and the changes in soul power that had not yet left the body all disappeared quietly. Only a layer of soul power fluctuations that were so subtle that they were almost undetectable, mixed with spiritual power, spread out like ripples with him as the center. Ratman saw the huge lava fist coming towards him and was about to use his skills to deal with it. Suddenly, his thinking ability decreased and his thinking activities slowed down. Who am I? What am I going to do? What is that fist? Oh, I have to avoid it. The deadly sense of crisis woke him up suddenly. At this juncture, a moment of delay in thinking is fatal. He had no time to dodge, and the lava was close at hand. Ratman, Soul Master, could only scream no in fear and despair, and was then swallowed by the magma. The thieves who lost their leader fled in a hurry. Lei Yin, who was usually gentle, showed an unusual cruelty at this moment. He chased after them and chopped off the heads of the thieves one by one with his thunder sword. Too easy, right? Yan Jin frowned, glanced at Amon, who was sitting on the top of the carriage with a smile, and asked suspiciously, what did you do? Do you want to experience it yourself? Amon chuckled. As he said that, he threw a fraud at Yan Jin, and then whispered, you don't need to know so much. We are partners. Just relax and trust me. In the future, when you encounter such a situation, just do it directly. You see, our cooperation this time is very tacit. A soul master solved it so easily. This is a complete use of the soul skill swindler. First make the opponent's thinking dull, make others unable to think, and add the passive effect to make the words more convincing. The final result is that Amon's mouth-to-mouth effect is outstanding in a short period of time. Yan Jin subconsciously gave up thinking and gave up his curiosity about Amon's soul skills. He nodded woodenly and said, you are right. After a while, the three returned to the carriage. Amon looked at Yan Jin, who was calm, with surprise and suspicion. The interference of fraud on thinking can only last for a short time. She should have come back to her senses, but she shouldn't be so calm. After coming back to her senses, isn't she surprised, curious, or afraid of this ability to interfere with other people's thinking? Based on Amon's understanding of Yan Jin, she is not the kind of person who can hide her thoughts, and she will definitely show something strange, unless she was not thinking in the first place. Not only during the moment when she was affected by the deception effect, but also afterwards, because she was not thinking. She did not find that her thinking was disturbed, and she did not notice my ability, so she was so calm. Amon felt that he seemed to have found the truth, which was surprising, but not so surprising. Lei Yin looked at Amon and Yan Jin and felt something was wrong in his heart. He saw the interaction between the two of them and always felt that something seemed to be skipped in the middle. He scratched his head in confusion and did not go into it. The carriage ticked southward and the temperature gradually rose. The landscape on both sides of the road was also changing. The various plants and animals that had never been seen in Frostleaf City opened the eyes of Yan Jin and Lei Yin. For the first time, they knew that there were so many different natural landscapes in the world. The journey was not smooth sailing. In just a few days, they encountered two groups of robbers. The first wave was led by two soul masters, one with a flame bird and the other with a lightning turtle, who were highly resistant to high temperatures and lightning. Amon did not make a move, and Yan Jin and Yan took a lot of effort to kill them. The second wave was led by triplets, all of whom were soul masters, and they cooperated very well. One of them also had the characteristic of resisting mental interference, which made Amon's deception effect very limited. This forced Amon to take it seriously. In addition to using his second soul skill, he also used air bullets several times to break the cooperation of the three of them. Yan Jin seized the opportunity to kill one of them, and then he won the game. Amon noticed something unusual. Yan, do you think there is something wrong with the three gangs of robbers we encountered? Wrong. Yan lowered his head and shook his head. He didn't think there was anything special. The two of them tacitly did not ask Yan Jin for his opinion. Amon pinched his monocle and whispered, these three gangs of thieves are a little more powerful each time. It feels like some kind of level breaking game. Every time you pass a level, the difficulty of the next level will increase by 1 point, it seems. It is indeed the case. Is it because we are getting closer and closer to BD City, and there are many powerful people in big cities, so even the entry threshold of robbers has increased accordingly? Yan said, maybe. Amon looked at the scene outside through the car window, his expression slightly solemn. Hey, uncle, isn't this road you chose safer? Why are there so many robbers? Yan Jin was playing with a gold bracelet with gemstones that he had snatched from a group of robbers. The coachman wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said with a smile, I have been here several times before. This road is the cargo transportation route of several large chambers of commerce. The general thieves have been cleared out by them. Maybe it's just a coincidence, thanks to your powerful strength, Master Soul Master. Otherwise I would probably have lost my life here. He said flatteringly. Yan Jin just asked casually, without any intention of blaming. She climbed onto the top of the carriage and lay down, crossed her legs, and looked at the sky. In the vast sky, the clouds moved with the wind and kept changing their shapes. She stretched out her right hand and made a hollow grip, as if she wanted to grab something. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Ironheart City. Amon decided to change the itinerary temporarily. He said to the coachman, I have something to do in Tixin City for a few days. I will give you a silver soul coin as an extra reward every 2 days during the stay. Okay, Master Soul Master. The coachman happily agreed. He only needed to wait for a while in the city outside the itinerary. He could get a silver soul every 2 days. It was easy and not dangerous. With such good conditions, he wished he could stay for 10 days or half a month. Great. The road is boring enough. Let's play in the city for a few days. Yan Jin agreed with both hands. The coachman changed the direction of travel, and the carriage slowly drove towards Tixin City. Tixin City is close to the Tixin Mountains. It is a medium-sized city, much more prosperous than Frostleaf City. There was a long queue at the city gate. These were farmers or merchants who wanted to enter the city. Yan asked the coachman to drive the carriage through the convenient passage on the other side. The guard stopped them. Show your certificate. Yan showed them his Soul Master badge. Great. Soul Master? The guard looked at Yan with some suspicion. Such a young great Soul Master is very rare, and the carriage is not luxurious, so he subconsciously does not believe it. Soul Masters can take the fast lane, and the goods they carry are not taxed if the quantity is below a certain level. In addition, as a default rule in private, the guards at the city gate will not search the Soul Master's carriage for prohibited items, which makes some people take risks and pretend to be. He asked respectfully but firmly, this sir, can you please show your martial soul? Recently, there are many vendors pretending to be soul masters to smuggle goods. Yan nodded. Soul power surged, accompanied by thunder, and silver white lightning appeared in his palm, emitting dazzling light. 2 yellow soul rings floated quietly. The guard quickly returned the badge to Lei Yin and at the same time made way. Sir, please come in. The carriage drove into the city slowly. An older guard patted the shoulder of the guard who had just carefully checked him and said, boy, don't be so impulsive next time. Fortunately, this lord is more reasonable. Not all soul masters are so easy to talk to. We are just ordinary guards. With this little salary, there is no need to make things difficult for the soul masters. Even if we catch the imposter, what good will it do us? The reward has never been given. On the contrary, if you offend a soul master with a small mind, you will be in big trouble. But isn't this our job? The young guard muttered in his heart and did not refute. Yan Jin ran to the restaurant happily. She almost vomited after eating dry food for several days in a row. If it was in the past, when she was struggling to survive in the West Street of Frostleaf City, she would not mind it, but it is difficult to go from luxury to frugality. After 5 years of good life, she almost forgot the feeling of being satisfied with a piece of cake. Mr. Amon. Lei Yin looked at Amon. You go too. We don't need you for now. Amon nodded slightly at him. Call us if you need anything. We'll be there whenever you ask. After saying that, Lei Yin ran after Yan Jin. He was worried that his sister would cause trouble again. This is not Shuangai City, where fighting is not a common practice. Amon found a street kid and took a silver soul coin in his hand to play with. I need a guide to tell me where the mercenaries in Tixin City often gather, and which are the more famous mercenaries. Please introduce them to me. Liu Zi looked at the silver soul coin and then looked at Amon. Judging from his clothes and temperament, this guy's not easy to mess with. He put away the extra thoughts and greed in his heart and said in a flattering tone, Sir, please follow me. In view of the weight of the silver soul coin, I will serve you with the most dedicated attitude, I swear. Liu Zi led the way and introduced. There are 2 more famous mercenary groups in the city. One is the Tixin mercenary group. It is the largest mercenary group with more than 10 soul masters, including other ordinary people. The total number of people exceeds 50. The other is the Jackal mercenary group, which is a relatively loose mercenary group composed of more than 10 soul masters. There is no subordinate relationship between its members, and it is rare for all members to go out for a certain task. Generally, a soul master team of 3 or 4 people accepts and completes the commission. In addition, there are several more powerful lone travelers, all of whom are soul masters above level 30. Amon followed him to a tavern. After throwing the silver soul coin to the street urchin, he pushed open the shutter door and walked in. Master, I will wait at the door. If you have any questions, just tell me. I will serve you all day. In the tavern, there was no noise and bustle as imagined. It was even quiet. People sat at different tables drinking in groups of 3 or 2, and they even spoke in low voices. Amon came to the bar and put a silver soul coin on it. Give me a glass of barley wine. In addition, can you tell me how to issue a commission to the mercenary group? The bartender put the wine and change on the bar and whispered, go to the 2nd floor. There is a task release board. You can leave a message on it with a silver coin. Write down your task content and contact information. If there are mercenaries interested, they will contact you. On the other board, there are contact information for the major mercenary groups in the city. You can also take the initiative to contact a mercenary group yourself. Amon pushed the change back and continued to ask, if I want to hunt a soul beast of a certain type and year, what should I do? Specified. Soul beast. Are you going to hunt for soul rings? That's a lot of money. The bartender took the money, thought for a while, and replied, you can first post a bounty for the soul beast's trace on the task board. Then contact a mercenary group and agree to accompany you to hunt. After you get the news, you can also entrust the entire task to a mercenary group, including finding news and helping with hunting. The cost of the former will be relatively lower, but you need to confirm the authenticity of the news yourself. If you make a wasted trip because the news is wrong, the mercenary group will still charge a fee. The second method will cost much more, but it is more stable. Amon pinched his monocle and chuckled. Can I choose to use both methods? The bartender was silent for a while. If you have money, of course you can, but it's best not to trust mercenaries too much. You know, these people are a mixed bag. Sometimes, they are the biggest source of danger for their employers. Also, a friendly reminder, it's best not to speak too loudly, or walk too loudly. There is a soul master who has a bad personality, but likes quietness upstairs. He hates being disturbed by others. Thank you for your reminder. Amon nodded and walked up the stairs on the east side to the second floor. There was a young man who looked to be in his 20s by the window on the north side of the second floor. He had golden hair and wore a gorgeous, but not complicated hunting suit. A golden iris was embellished on his chest. His black clothes were soft and shiny, and they were worth a lot of money. The young man was holding a glass of red wine and sipping it mouthful by mouthful, as elegant as a classical nobleman. While tasting the red wine, he admired the view outside the window. From this angle, the mountains in the distance were like a giant dragon lying down. The clouds rolled in the sky, the buildings in the city were lined up, and a sun was hanging high in the sky, emitting infinite light. Chapter 23 Video. He turned his head and his eyes met Amon's. Seeing Amon, who had a bookish temperament and looked like a scholar, he nodded as a greeting. The bartender on the second floor was a little surprised. This was the first time he had seen him take the initiative to greet someone. Amon looked away and soon saw the conspicuous task board. He walked over and said, "I want to post a bounty." The bartender on the second floor was a handsome middle-aged man with neatly combed hair and gold-rimmed glasses. He introduced, "We have a total of 3 chain taverns in the entire Ironheart city, located in different locations in the city, all of which are places where mercenaries are often active. There are 2 prices for publishing information. One is to publish it in a single tavern, and the price is 2 silver soul coins per week. The other is to publish it in 3 taverns at the same time, and the price is 5 silver soul coins per week. In addition, we will regularly organize and gather the commission information and send it to major mercenary groups. Whether you choose the first or the second, you can enjoy this item." Amon chuckled. "Not bad. Help me publish the reward." Choose the second price. The first target is the eyeless snake with a lifespan of 2000 to 5000 years. It should exist in the Ironheart Mountains, but the number is relatively small. Provide the approximate location and pay 100 gold soul coins after I succeed in hunting. Take me to find it. Regardless of whether the hunting is successful or not, pay 500 gold soul coins. The second target is the three-eyed fox, which is also 2000 to 5000 years old. This is not rare in the Ironheart Mountains. Take me to find it, and the reward is 200 gold soul coins. In addition, I will not accept the second target within 2 weeks. If there is no news about the first target after 2 weeks, then I will settle for the second best. Amon can actually absorb soul rings with a higher age, but the problem is that even if you find a soul beast with a higher age, you may not be able to beat it, and even if you win, you may not be able to kill it. The strength of the higher level mercenaries in Texan City is basically soul master, and the soul beast of 5000 years is almost their hunting limit. So, although this is not the best, it is the most suitable. After hearing Amon's conditions, the bartender said to him, "There is one thing you need to know. Our tavern is just an information exchange point. We are not responsible for confirming the authenticity of the information, nor are we responsible for restraining both parties. Everything depends on you." Amon nodded. "I know." After paying the fee to post the message on the task board for 2 weeks, he set his eyes on another board with the contact addresses of various mercenary groups. He wrote down the first few, and a few strong lone rangers. Just then, a familiar voice came. "Give me a glass of sweet plum wine, and this, except for these few. Give me all the other dishes." Yan Jin walked into the tavern and shouted loudly. Lei Yin persuaded, "Sister, please order less. We can't eat so much. We can eat. Don't doubt my stomach." The bartender on the first floor changed his expression and reminded in a low voice, "Dear guest, please be quiet. The noise will disturb other guests." "Ah, isn't this a pub?" Yan Jin was a little confused. "I said something was wrong. You are too quiet. The pub should be lively." Since Yan Jin came in, The young man sitting on the second floor with the best view had put down his glass and showed impatience on his face. Hearing that she was noisy despite the bartender's dissuasion, he couldn't help but stand up. Half of the area on the second floor of the pub was given to the original height of the house, and you can directly see the scene of a mouthful. The young man in luxurious clothes walked to the edge of the railing on the second floor and looked down at Yan Jin from a high position. He said, "Where did you come from, kid? Didn't your parents teach you not to affect others? Get them out." "Ah, Master Beidel, this." The bartender looked embarrassed. "Driving customers out would damage the reputation of the tavern." "Who are you? This is a tavern. What kind of tavern is it if there are no bragging and fighting? There's no sign that you need to keep quiet." Yan Jin looked unhappy. "Also, what are you so proud of? Is this your family's business?" "Master Beidel is the son of the city lord, a level 29 great soul master. In addition, the tavern is indeed owned by the city lord." Seeing Yan Jin's confrontational attitude, the bartender kindly reminded her of Beidel's identity, hoping that she would give up. "Hey, it's really yours." Yan Jin was stunned. "Humph, just a bully. Since it's yours and you think it's noisy, you can make a soundproof box." Vidiel's suggestion is very good. Vidiel turned his head and said to the bartender on the second floor, "Arrange it for me." "Okay, I'll contact the craftsman to modify it later. Since your suggestion is good, I forgive your offense," Vidiel said in a condescending tone, as if it was a charity. Yan Jin raised his eyebrows. "It makes me feel like I need your forgiveness, golden retriever. Don't challenge my tolerance again and again." Vidiel's expression darkened. "Want to fight?" Yan Jin didn't tolerate him and looked at him coldly. The soul power surged, accompanied by brilliant light. 2 yellow soul rings rose from Vidiel's body. His martial soul was a gem cat, a soul beast with heterochromatic eyes and elegant body. A calm, cold, yet somewhat domineering voice echoed in the tavern. "You pissed me off." The rest of the guests in the tavern were not panicked by the conflict, and they all watched the scene with interest. They were also somewhat dissatisfied with Bitter, but due to his status as the son of the city lord and the strength of a great soul master, no one dared to show it. Now seeing 2 young men who seemed to have some confidence challenging him, they all had the mentality of watching a good show. "How about going out to fight? I'm worried that you will blackmail me if I break something." Yan Jin raised his arm and pointed his thumb at the street behind him. "How many things will be broken when I teach you 2 little brats a lesson? Don't worry, you don't have to pay. I will only beat you to kneel down and apologize and beg for mercy." Bitter smiled coldly. "No need to pay. That's what you said, Xiang." The flames burned and extinguished, and billowing smoke drifted away from Yan Jin's body. Bursts of red light came out of her arms, and the magma continued to increase, emitting amazing heat. 2 yellow soul rings lit up, and the soft halo was not dazzling, but solid and undispersed. Looking at her arms, that were completely covered with magma, and became several times thicker, and the waves of heat in the air, Vidiel suddenly had an ominous premonition. Wait, before he could finish his words, a ball of magma shot like a cannonball and made him swallow the rest of his words. Yan Jin's second soul ring skill is soul power ejection, which has the effect of directional explosion of soul power to push objects to move at high speed. She can use this to launch magma, creating an effect similar to a volcanic bomb. Soul power ejection has an unfixed consumption and can be changed as you wish. The more it consumes, the faster it is given. Chapter 24, The Master of Demolition. After being possessed by the spirit, Vidiel's ears turned into cat ears, a cat tail appeared behind him, and his eyes turned into gold and silver like the gem cat. Unlike Glenn's possession, his hands were still human palms. The first spirit ring lit up. Vidiel stretched out his right hand, spread his 5 fingers, and a light pink gem-shaped shield appeared in the air, blocking the lava bowl. Unlike the pure energy attack of general offensive spirit skills, the magma is physical. After being blocked, it scattered and fell on the floor, table, and chair. The high temperature ignited the wood, and clusters of flames emerged in the tavern. The bartender and the guests all ran out, not too far away, looking through the door on the street. Seeing this scene, Vidiel's already bad mood became worse, and he suddenly regretted not agreeing to fight outside. He wanted to temporarily stop the battle, but his pride made him unable to lose face. But soon, he didn't have the mind to think so much. And the volcanic bombs one after another made him tired of dealing with them. The strong impact made his arms numb. Vidiel's defensive soul skill gem shield is effective in dealing with energy attacks, but when attacked by entities, although it can be blocked, the impact will be transmitted to the body and needs to be borne by oneself. This kid, does she have too much soul power to use up? How many times has she used her soul skills? Vidiel looked solemn, and he admitted that he underestimated his opponent. Yan Jin's two soul skills are actually improving her use of martial soul and soul power. Originally, in Amon's plan, these should be achieved by soul power control skills, but improving control skills is more difficult than he expected. At least Yan Jin can't do it. So he had to use corresponding soul skills to make up for it. These soul skills that improve their own control have one thing in common, that is, they consume very little, almost nothing. Because this will not affect reality. Yan Jin's attack actually consumes only 2 points. One is the consumption of expanding the magma martial soul, and the other is the consumption of emitting magma and giving it speed. As for the fact that the lethality has no lethality increase, it is not a big problem. The characteristics of magma itself are destructive enough. Bang. The crystal shield shattered, and Vidiel retreated a few steps, hiding from Yan Jin's sight under the cover of the second floor. Wow. Not bad. You can take so many of my volcanic bombs. Yan Jin looked relaxed. The flames had already burned to her side, licking her body, but she seemed not to see it. After she summoned her martial soul, she was immune to all fire damage with a lower temperature than her martial soul. Then, how about this move? Big fire spray. The floor turned red. Vidiel's face changed, the second soul ring lit up, and he quickly retreated, pulled up the bartender on the second floor hiding in the corner, and jumped out of the window. The huge lava fist pierced through the floor, and the roof was lifted up without losing momentum. From a distance, it was like a giant waking up underground and stretching out his palm. The tavern with the destroyed weighing structure collapsed and turned into a pile of ruins. Amon made a TSK sound, looking a little helpless in the past. Yan Jin only used his fists to fight, which could not cause much damage. Now, when he encounters a conflict with a soul master, he will destroy the house at any time. He is simply a highly efficient Vidiel stared blankly at his own tavern, turned into a ruin, with a dazed look on his face. The moment he saw Yan Jin's martial spirit, he had a bad premonition, and 2 minutes later, this premonition became a reality. The flames burned fiercely, and from time to time there were explosions of bottles bursting, or heavy objects falling in the ruins. Lei Yan was stunned. He couldn't understand how it turned into such a situation in the blink of an eye. Just to have a meal. Looking at Yan Jin walking out of the flames surrounded by magma, Vidiel loosened his clenched fists and gave up fighting. His second soul skill is a skill that improves his agility and speed. Using this soul skill to rush over and fight Yan Jin is simply a dead end, unless it is a war of attrition, but that is meaningless. Vidiel suddenly laughed, clapped his hands, and praised, "But, very good. This is the first time I see someone as powerful as you at your age. What's your name?" "Yan Jin." "My name is Vidiel. I admit that I was wrong. I lack respect for the strong. It's my fault," he said with some apology. Hearing him say this, Yan Jin also felt a little embarrassed. Looking at the ruined tavern, he smiled awkwardly. "Haha, sorry, I went a little too far. Don't worry, you don't have to pay. We agreed at the beginning. If it's damaged, it's my fault." Vidiel's face flashed a trace of pain. Even if he has a city lord father and a big family, he can't stand such a toss. "Yan Jin, is this your first time in Tixin City? What are you here for?" "Yes, it's the first time." "As for what?" "I don't know, but I should stay for a few days." "You have to ask Amon." "Amon?" Vidiel adjusted the wrinkles on his clothes. "Is he your elder?" "I guess so." Hey, you are here too." Yan Jin was surprised to see Amon walking out of the burning ruins. Amon pinched his monocle and chuckled. "I'm also surprised. It's been less than half a day and you've already clashed with others. I saw the battle just now. There is still a lot of unnecessary waste in your attack. The big fire breathing move just now consumed too much soul power. You obviously have more solutions that consume less and cause less noise. Of course I know, but I don't like golden retriever. Since it's his fault, if I break it, I will deliberately use a destructive move. Yan Jin didn't say this in front of Ideal, but just smiled. I'm sorry, Yan Jin has been naughty since he was a child. Amon said to Bitter, who are you seeing? Amon walked out of the burning ruins, his body still spotless. Vidiel knew that this was not a simple person, and he did not maintain her arrogant attitude. I am Amon, half teacher and half brother to them. We are on our way to the Northland Advanced Soul Master Academy, and we are doing some repairs here. Vidiel's eyes lit up. Would you like to come to my house as a guest? I also know a lot about the Northland Advanced Soul Master Academy. Amon smiled and shook his head. That's not necessary. Yan Jin has always been good at demolishing homes. Haha, let's do that. The other two Talons will release the news about the reward. We look forward to seeing you again. Vidiel smiled meaningfully at them. Golden Retriever, you're not bad. Let's have a serious fight next time. Yan Jin said with a smile. Vidiel shrugged. Yes, but only if it cannot be in my family's property. After they parted ways, the bartender on the second floor asked Bitter, Master, is that all? Of course not. Vidiel smiled. That Amon needs to hunt 2000 to 5000 years of soul beasts. He should be a 40 level soul master, the kind who will soon become a soul sect. Yan Jin doesn't look big, but it makes me feel extremely troublesome. Even if we put her in a head-on confrontation in an open area, I'm not sure I can win her. The other child doesn't know very well, but it's probably not simple either. Such a person will definitely be the target of wooing by all parties when he arrives at the Northland Advanced Soul Master Academy. How can we just let it go? Send people to find the eyeless snake quickly. I want to receive this reward. Don't let others get there first. Chapter 25 VIDAL-039's purpose. As Bidder's order was issued, the power of the City Lord's palace came into operation. All the mercenary groups in Ironheart City knew that Master Vidiel needed to find an eyeless snake, and on the 5th day someone claimed to have found the target. The turmoil in the soul slowly subsided, and Vidiel exited from the cultivation state, with a trace of joy on his face. Level 30. After walking out of the room, he called the waiter and asked, where is my father? The waiter replied, Mr. Anderson was here just now, and he asked me to convey to the young master that the city lord is busy with something, so the young master needs you to organize your own manpower to hunt the soul beasts. What's more important than me hunting for a soul ring? Vidiel frowned. The waiter replied respectfully, this is not something I can know, young master. Also, the wind attribute cat soul beast and the eyeless snake you need have been identified, and some mercenaries have found their traces. Where are the people waiting? In the lobby now. Vidiel came to the hall and saw the waiting mercenaries. He had some impression of this person. His name was Norbert. He was a lone traveler with good strength and a soul master. Did you find the soul beast I was looking for? Yes, a fencing tiger that is about 1500 years old, and an eyeless snake that is more than 5000 years old. Norbert responded, take me to find them, and 1000 gold soul coins will be yours. Vidiel said directly without any greetings. He didn't show much respect for this kind of person who was still only at level 30. After exhausting his potential. After all, he himself will soon be over level 30, and there is still a lot of room for development in the future. This is just the reward for finding them, Norbert said in a positive tone. Vidiel shrugged. Yes, just find it. If you need to take action, I will pay extra. Okay, when will we set off? The two are in the same area. I'm worried that, if we delay for too long, the wind-walking tiger may be eaten by the eyeless snake. The latter seems to be tracking the former, Norbert reminded. Tomorrow, lava surged, thunder roared, and lightning and magma intertwined in the wide open space, colliding with each other from time To time. Yan Jin is sparring with Yan. They all have Amon's worm of time in their bodies, and this is of their own free will. Of course, they didn't know that this was parasitism. They only thought that Amon's martial soul could integrate into other people's bodies to provide assistance. The time worm clone can also use the ability to attach external soul bones, because what this soul bone gives Amon is a soul power characteristic. As long as it is his soul power, he will have this characteristic. The time clones parasitic in the bodies of Yan Jin and Yan covered the surface of their bodies with a layer of soul power membrane, allowing them to exert their power without worrying about hurting each other. In addition, the time clones are also continuously providing them with soul power, which allows the two to practice for a long time. Big, fire-breathing Brontosaurus, the huge fist composed of magma collided with the giant dragon formed by lightning, and a huge impact swept in all directions. Dust was scattered, and the roar was deafening. Vidiel, who came to see Amon, saw this scene. A drop of cold sweat flowed from his forehead, and then he became more enthusiastic. Brother Amon, I'm here to collect your award. Are you ready for the 500 gold soul coins? Amon smiled, knowing that he was showing his kindness. That's really what I'm looking forward to. Is it okay to leave tomorrow? I happen to be at level 30 and need to hunt for soul rings. Tomorrow? Time is a bit tight. It seems I have to hire some people quickly. Amon said softly. Vidiel smiled and shook his head. There's no need for that. You probably can't hire anyone. Most of the idle mercenary groups in the city accepted my employment. The two mercenary groups of the Ironheart mercenary group and the Jackal mercenary group, a team of 3 and 4 solo soul masters. The corner of Amon's mouth twitched slightly. This should cost a lot, right? It's not bad. Just over 30,000 gold soul coins. A total of 8 soul masters and 15 great soul masters. This is much more than the total funding Marwen has provided them over the years. If only Vidiel hunted the soul ring by himself, the number of soul beasts that needed to be hunted would not exceed 1,700 years at most. Such a lineup would be redundant. Obviously, it was prepared for Amon. Amon was silent for a moment and asked, "What do you want?" Vidiel's smile became even brighter and he said, "Are the 3 of you going to join the Northland Advanced Soul Master Academy?" Amon nodded. "That's a coincidence. I'm a student in the college now. Maybe you should call me senior." Huh. Jin Mao, are you a student there too? Yan Jin came over and showed a harmless smile. "Do you know which senior students in the college are more powerful?" Yan was helpless. Seeing Yan Jin's behavior, he knew that she planned to repeat what happened in the Icewind Junior Soul Master Academy. Amon glanced at her, and Yan Jin retreated. Is it related to the academy?" Vidiel nodded slightly. "Yes. Do you know about the Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite competition?" "I understand. And to be honest, this is also our goal." "That's great." Vidiel showed a look of surprise on his face, and then asked, "Do you know anything about the internal situation of the Northland Advanced Soul Master Academy?" Amon shook his head. "I don't know much. Let me introduce it to you." Vidiel pondered for a moment and organized his words. "The Northern Advanced Soul Master Academy mainly recruits nobles, but does not exclude talented civilians. Because the academy's top management has a close relationship with the nobles, the academy is also greatly influenced by various forces. You should know that the Soul Master competition is a team competition that relies more on teamwork rather than individual bravery. This makes it impossible to select contestants through one-on-one competitions among students. The decision made by the top management is likely to cause dissatisfaction from all parties and is not conducive to stability. If this is done, I'm afraid that the nobles will fight fiercely before each competition in order to send their children to that stage, and this will prevent civilian soul masters from having the opportunity to go on stage. Those who can enter the Advanced Soul Master Academy must be the most talented among the civilians. Excluding them will not be conducive to the academy's good results in the Soul Master competition. The final result of the research and discussion is that the academy does not organize teams, and the students will form teams spontaneously, with 7 regular players and 1 alternate. Students will organize their own teams to compete and decide the strongest team to represent the college. In addition, the college will arrange an individual competition among students to decide the top 3 teams to join the participating teams as substitutes. Amon pinched his monocle and said with a smile, "Do you want to invite the 3 of us to join your team?" "Yes, Amon. Come and help me. This is also to fulfill yourself." Vidiel stretched out his palm and made an invitation. "If that's the case, please forgive me for refusing." Amon shook his head. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.